Chapter 1025, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Chapter 1025, Chapter 364, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. By Yin Peak, Alchemy Hall. 9 dragon heads spewed raging flames, above which a bronze cauldron was set. Spiritual liquid boiled inside the cauldron as Lu Changsheng threw in various precious and valuable spiritual medicines, spirit fruits, monster cores, demon beast skeletons, and more. He was preparing a medicinal bath for his son Lu Lingxiao and daughter Lu Lingyi. Ever since learning about the medicinal bath technique, he had wanted to give some of his talented children a medicinal baptism. However, previous baths, aside from those for Lu Wangshu and Lu Xingqian, were ordinary baptisms. The spiritual medicines and spirit stones used before didn't even compare to what he was using now. On the one hand, indeed, these 2 children had exceptional talents, and he wanted to give them a head start. On the other hand, this was also about the relationship with Ling Zixiao. After all, children with good talents, and those who were children of his Tao companion, would spend more time with him, so he was inevitably biased. As time passed, the spiritual liquid in the cauldron turned into a dark, thick, and turbid color. Then, Lu Changsheng opened several porcelain bottles and poured them one by one into the cauldron. Buzz! At that moment, the ancient beast taming charm shimmered, and a faint figure appeared, looking sublimely beautiful, slender, noble, and uniquely graceful. She cast spell after spell towards the bronze cauldron. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The cauldron immediately began to hum and tremble. The liquid inside roared and splashed, gleaming with a radiant light, making the phantom images of the 9 Netherhound, heavenly demon phoenix, iron-eating beast, and Mount Sumeru tree king appear intermittently. The originally dark and viscous liquid gradually turned light gold, emitting a strong, aromatic scent. Young master, the elixirs are ready. You can enter the cauldron now. Hong Lian's voice was soft and pleasing. Lu Changxing nodded, looked towards his side, and called out to his son, who was pursing his lips with bright eyes, "Shower." "Dad, I'm ready." Lu Lingxiao nodded as he spoke. He was only 9 years old, but looked as tall as a normal adolescent. Dressed in a cyan robe, his youthful face carried a hint of valor. Hearing Lu Changsheng's words, he directly leaped into the boiling bronze cauldron. He knew that once he completed the medicinal bath baptism, he could begin cultivating. As Lu Lingxiao entered the cauldron, his body instantly became scalding hot, and his skin turned red. He groaned softly. Although the medicinal bath was extremely hot, it would not scald anyone. Instead, it transformed into a surging force of medicinal power, cleaning and strengthening his body, limbs, bones, and dantian. "Daddy, will brother get boiled?" Lu Lingyi, wearing a lotus dress and tying 2 buns, biting her fingers, looked at the bubbling bronze cauldron and spoke with fear. "Of course not. It's just like taking a bath. Xiaohe will grow up quickly after the bath. And the liquid inside tastes really good." Lu Changsheng laughed as he heard his daughter's words. As children, the siblings grew up consuming various heavenly and earthly treasures, treating strengthening and essence-cultivating elixirs like candy. These elixirs and treasures might not be fully absorbed and used. This medicinal bath baptism not only helped them refine all the medicine power within their bodies, but also improve their talents. Once the medicinal bath was over, both could begin cultivating directly. There was no need, like most children, to wait until 12 years old for their meridians and dantian to withstand nature's spiritual energy. "Xiaohe, it's okay." Ling Zixiao, who had been holding her daughter's shoulders, spoke softly. She fully understood how much Lu Changsheng had spent on this cauldron bath. Not just nearly 100,000 spirit stones worth of heaven and earth spiritual materials. He also extracted essence blood from the 9 Netherhound, heavenly demon phoenix, cold blue dark turtle, iron-eating beast, Mount Sumeru tree king, and abyssal ghoul blossoms. "Brother, are you getting cooked?" Lu Lingyi expressed disbelief and shouted loudly to her brother inside the cauldron. No. Lu Lingxiao remained silent for a moment before gritting his teeth and uttering 2 words. Daddy, Mommy, brother seems getting cooked. Lu Lingyi immediately looked up and said, seeing her daughters dilly-dallying and Hong Lian waiting by the side, Ling Zixiao directly clenched her teeth, picked her up, and with a plop, threw her into the cauldron. Ah, Daddy, Mommy, it's so hot. Unlike Lu Lingxiao, who held his breath and endured, Lu Lingyi immediately cried out in discomfort. Xiaohe, be good. After the bath, you'll grow up quickly. Lu Changsheng immediately soothed her. Buzz! Hong Lian cast more spells into the bronze cauldron, causing the medicinal liquid to boil continuously and radiate luminous light. Young master, it's ready now. She spoke, and then her figure returned to the ancient beast taming charm. Without Su Ruyan, she could not stay away from the ancient beast taming charm for long, and casting these spells drained her significantly. Hong Lian, thank you for your hard work. Lu Changxing nodded as he spoke, holding the ancient beast taming charm in his palm. Daddy lied. The liquid doesn't taste good at all. It's so bitter. After a while, Lu Ling's face turned red, as if she was drunk, and she said in grievance to Lu Changsheng. Lu Changsheng stayed silent for a moment. Then a bottle appeared in his hand, and he poured out to strengthen the essence and cultivate the origin pills, shouting to his daughter in the cauldron, Xiaohe, open your mouth. Bayu. After Lu Lingyi consumed the pills, she immediately shouted loudly, Daddy, I want to eat more. Seeing her husband feeding their daughter treats, Ling Zixiao wanted to say something, but was at a loss for words, only able to sigh with a hand on her forehead. And so, time passed bit by bit. The medicinal bath roared and boiled. Luminescence surged, washing marrow and cleansing for the siblings, allowing them to undergo a transformative rebirth. Lu Lingxiao clenched his teeth and endured the medicinal bath baptism. Previously, Lu Wangshu told him the reason she was so impressive was that, during her medicinal bath baptism, she stayed fully conscious and completed the transformative rebirth. Chapter 1026, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Chapter 1026, Chapter 364, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. And he was determined to surpass this older sister of his and suppress her, naturally not willing to be weaker than her. Lu Lingyi, however, had no idea when he had fallen into a deep slumber. Buzz, 2 days later, a vigorous and domineering aura suddenly emanated from Lu Lingxiao's body. Is this the dragon roar physique? Ling Zixiao sensed this familiar aura and abruptly turned her gaze toward her son, her face filled with surprise and astonishment. She had not expected her son to have the dragon roar physique, just like herself. This made her ecstatic and overwhelmingly delighted. Her son, with a first-grade spiritual root and nurtured meticulously by herself and Lu Changsheng, was destined for the core formation stage. Now seeing that her son possessed the dragon roar physique, she felt it was not just hopeful for core formation. Rather, it was a certainty that he would achieve core formation and even had the potential to become a nascent soul true lord. The dragon roar physique has awakened? Lu Changsheng paused, also somewhat taken aback by the surprise. He hadn't expected that, under the influence of the medicinal bath, his son's dragon roar physique would awaken. You must know, the dragon roar physique is a recessive spiritual body, which would gradually awaken as one grows and practices cultivation. His son was only 9 years old, not yet having started his cultivation journey. How could the dragon roar physique awaken so soon? However, the next moment, Lu Changxing realized that it must be due to his son's dragon roar physique being incomplete, an incomplete dragon roar physique, and therefore different from the norm. Not good. Lu Changsheng immediately looked towards the bronze cauldron where his daughter Lu Lingyi lay unconscious, summoned his great hand of magical power, and lifted her out. The early awakening of the dragon roar physique in his son was naturally a good thing. But if his daughter's dragon roar physique were to awaken early, that would not be good at all. The dragon roar physique was only suitable for the male body. If a daughter had the dragon roar physique, it would be a curse rather than a blessing. He hadn't yet perfected his yin-yang creation scripture, unable to completely resolve the issue of the dragon roar physique. Buzz! However, at this very moment, a fierce yet faint aura had already started to permeate from Lu Ling's body. How can this be? Ling Zixiao, upon seeing Lu Changsheng's actions, and still somewhat puzzled as to why he took the daughter out of the medicinal bath, abruptly sensed the familiar aura coming from her daughter's body, and her delighted expression instantly changed. She was naturally happy and thrilled that her son had the dragon roar physique. But if her daughter had the dragon roar physique, she could not be happy. She, herself, had the dragon roar physique and knew all too well how much trouble this spiritual body had caused her. During her foundation establishment breakthrough, she almost died because of the outburst caused by the dragon roar physique. Had it not been for meeting Lu Changsheng, she would have withered and died from the burning yang energy of the dragon roar physique, burning her meridians and dantian. Even now, she could only practice cultivation at a slow pace, thanks to Lu Changsheng's help in managing the dragon roar of yang energy within her body. The dragon roar physique, Hong Lian, from within the ancient beast taming charm, was also surprised to see the condition of the siblings. Though she had long resided within the ancient beast taming charm, over the years, she had tutored Lu Changsheng's children and observed their conditions. She could clearly recognize that the Lu family disciples' talents were significantly improving, and also an early blood talisman spiritual body. Before that, a Gungjin body constitution returned home. Now, suddenly 2 dragon roar physiques appeared. Although there was something off about these 2 dragon roar physiques, it was still astounding. Dragon Emperor body. Is this the legendary Dragon Emperor body? As terrifying as this, Hong Lian murmured to herself, her heart filled with astonishment and emotion. For a moment, she couldn't help but look forward to what kind of talented offspring would be born after Lu Changsheng's core formation, nascent soul, and divinity transformation. Because as far as she knew, the higher the cultivation realm of the Dragon Emperor body, the more amazing the talents of the offspring born. However, the Dragon Emperor body should at least reach the core formation stage to increase the chances of his children having a spiritual body, right? The Lord is only at the foundation establishment stage now. Even with the Dragon Emperor body, at most it would make it easier than other cultivators to have offspring with a spiritual root talent. It couldn't possibly involve spiritual bodies. Hong Lian was puzzled in her heart. However, thinking of the fact that the mysteries surrounding Lu Changsheng had not only not diminished over the years, but had become even more enigmatic, she did not measure him against common wisdom. After all, the Dragon Emperor body was just her guess. The situation of Lu Changsheng, his constitution, might be similar to that of the Dragon Emperor body, but it could be even more astonishing. Moreover, even the same constitution might differ, not necessarily the same. Then, Hong Lian's soul observed the condition of Lu Ling Xiao and Lu Lingyi and spoke out. Lord, Ling Xiao and Ling's dragon roar physiques must be with flaw, incomplete dragon roar physiques, which is why they awakened under the influence of the medicinal bath. She had provided the medicinal bath technique, so naturally, she felt the need to give an explanation. I know. Lu Changsheng nodded and said. He, of course, knew his children's dragon roar physiques were incomplete, both being incomplete spirit physiques. Lord, Ling Zixiao looked at Lu Lingyi in Lu Changsheng's arms, biting her lip, her face full of heartache. This daughter of hers was not very clever to start with, and now, also burdened with the dragon roar physique, it made her heart ache beyond measure. It's okay. I was well aware of Zaihe's dragon roar physique. I just didn't expect the medicinal bath to stimulate it and cause an early awakening. Zixiao, rest assured, once I finish my cultivation technique transformation, we'll be able to resolve your and Zaihe's dragon roar physique. Lu Changsheng held his daughter, reassuring his wife. If it had been before, he might have been worried about this situation. But now, As long as he completed his cultivation of the yin-yang creation classic, he could attempt to resolve the dragon roar physique. He might not be able to completely resolve it at the foundation establishment stage, but as long as he achieved a breakthrough in core formation, he would have a 70 to 80% certainty. Lord, you can resolve it. Ling Zixiao immediately recalled Lu Changshang mentioning before that once he finished his transformation of the cultivation technique, he would have a way to resolve the dragon roar physique. Chapter 10:27 Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Chapter 10:27 Chapter 364 Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Just for a moment, she was so anxious that she forgot about the issue. Of course, it was also because her subconscious assumed that the method her husband used to resolve the dragon roar physique issue relied on the dragon invocation technique, a dual cultivation technique. All right, once I perfect my cultivation technique, I will be able to balance yin and yang, resolving the issue of the dragon roar physique. Lu Changxing nodded, infusing yin-yang magic power into his daughter's body to balance her dragon roar physique. Dad, Mom, what's wrong with Xiao? At this moment, Lu Lingxiao, who was in the medicinal bath, opened his eyes, asking with some pain. Although the medicinal bath would not cause his body to explode and die, the baptism process was still very painful, causing one to easily fall unconscious. Xiaohe is not well and unsuited for the medicinal bath. Shower. Concentrate on your baptism. Ling Zixiao spoke out, telling her son not to worry. Lu Lingyi in Lu Changsheng's embrace, somewhat groggily opened her sleepy eyes. But seeing herself lying in her daddy's arms, she immediately smacked her lips a few times and nuzzled her little head in Lu Changsheng's embrace before falling asleep again. It's all right, at most she'll start her cultivation a few years later. It won't have any impact. Lu Changshang continued to reassure Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao nodded. Although Lu Changshang said he could resolve his daughter's situation, seeing his daughter like this, she was still exceedingly heartbroken. A day later, Lu Lingxiao was lifted out of the bronze cauldron by Lu Changsheng. Following the medicinal bath baptism and the awakening of the dragon roar physique, he too fell unconscious. Lu Changsheng could clearly see that his son's fair skin was glowing, crystal clear and shiny, just like warm jade. The meridians and dantian not only flowed with pure and rich spiritual energy, but were also filled with strands of intense dragon roar of yang energy. As long as this son began his cultivation, practicing yang attribute-based cultivation techniques would allow him to make rapid progress, advancing by leaps and bounds. Afterward, Lu Changsheng checked the status of his son's dragon roar physique. Just as I had guessed, Lu Changsheng narrowed his eyes slightly. Being a bearer of the dragon roar physique himself, he could clearly discern the differences within his son's dragon roar physique. Indeed, as he had previously conjectured, his son's dragon roar of yang energy lacked nourishment for the flesh and muscles. Overall, the effects were much worse than his own. But it could also be because his son was still young and had not started cultivation, so the full effects of the dragon roar physique had not been fully manifested. Regardless, Lingxiao's talent is destined to be extraordinary, and in the future, he will become the mainstay of the Lu family. Lu Changsheng did not dwell on the matter too much. Even if his son did not possess the dragon roar physique, just having a first-grade spiritual root was already quite remarkable. Even if this dragon roar physique was incomplete, it would not be worse than a medium-grade spirit body, and it might even have the effects of a superior spirit body. Zixiao, I wish for Shower to take Senior Red Lotus as his master. What do you think? At this time, Lu Changxing conveyed his thoughts to Ling Zixiao, inquiring. After obtaining the dragon roar physique, he knew that techniques related to yang, fire, and thunder elements were the most suitable for his son. The cultivation techniques he possessed at the moment were indeed not as fitting for Lu Lingxiao as Vermilion Bird's sky-scorching art from Senior Red Lotus. Therefore, he thought of allowing Lu Lingxiao to take Senior Red Lotus as a master to instruct him. Not only would he find a teacher for his son, but his bond with Red Lotus would also deepen. Having interacted for so long, Lu Changsheng still couldn't understand why Red Lotus, a nascent soul true lord, was so obedient to him. Although his charisma was not bad, and he could reconstruct her physical body in the future, it shouldn't be to this extent, right? So, he also wished to further deepen their relationship, taking Red Lotus as a master. Hearing this, Ling Zixiao immediately said, for Shower to take Senior Red Lotus as a master would be fantastic. Although Red Lotus showed no airs around Lu Changsheng, they still held great respect and reverence for her. If her son could take a nascent soul true lord as a master, she naturally saw it as a great opportunity. Good. Lu Changsheng nodded, looking towards the ancient beast taming charm and inquiring to Red Lotus, what do you think of Ling Xiao? Ling Xiao possesses a first-grade spiritual root and the dragon roar physique. Naturally, his talent is exceptional. Red Lotus perceived the implication in Lu Changsheng's words and replied thus. I mean to ask if you, Red Lotus, will be willing to take Ling Xiao as a disciple. Lu Changsheng said thoughtfully, if it pleases you, Red Lotus is naturally willing. Red Lotus responded immediately upon hearing this. Although she did not have any intentions to take on disciples, Lu Lingxiao's talent wasn't enough to make her want to cherish him and take him as a disciple. But if Lu Changsheng was willing to entrust this son to her tutelage, taking her as a master, she was quite pleased. After all, the relationship between a master and disciple in the cultivation world is special, akin to that of parents and children. If she were to become Lu Lingxiao's Shermu, her relationship with Lu Changsheng would also grow closer. All right, in that case, when Shower awakes, I will have him take you as a master. Lu Changsheng, hearing this, showed a faint smile on his face. 6 days later, Lu Changsheng received a message from Ling Zixiao, informing him that their son Lu Lingxiao had awakened. He couldn't help feeling sentimental that his son had slept for quite a while. You must know, his daughter Lu Wangshu only slept for 3 days and nights. However, considering that the medicinal bath he prepared was intended for 2 people, but as Lu Lingyi, due to the dragon roar physique, was removed halfway through, the rest of the medicinal bath was mostly absorbed and baptized by Lu Lingxiao alone, who awakened the dragon roar physique. So, it was normal for him to sleep a bit longer. He arrived at the courtyard and immediately saw Ling Zixiao talking with their 2 children, mother and son. Mother, don't worry, I will definitely take good care of my sister, Lu Lingxiao said with a serious face. My lord, Daddy. Upon seeing Lu Changsheng approaching, all 3 of them called out immediately. Chapter 1028, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian, _4 Chapter 1028, Chapter 364, Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian, _4 Lu Changsheng caught sight of his son Lu Lingxiao and paused. He noticed that his son's originally clear, distinct black and white eyes had turned a light golden color. In earlier years, he had noted that his son's eyes sometimes shimmered with a faint golden luster. But now they had completely changed to gold, like amber in the sunlight, giving off a divine and majestic aura. My lord, Shower's eyes turned this way after he woke up, but upon checking, I didn't find anything unusual. Ling Zixiao communicated to Lu Changsheng telepathically, somewhat worried. Hong Lian, do you know what this is about? Lu Changsheng held the ancient beast taming charm in his hand, turning to question Hong Lian. This could be due to the recent awakening of the spiritual body, or it could be because there's a flaw within the spiritual body. Hong Lian spoke softly. The spiritual body was truly mystical. Even as a nascent soul true lord, she found it difficult to fully understand the situation. Moreover, now that she was only a soul, she could not examine Lu Lingxiao's condition in detail. A flaw in the spiritual body. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng looked at his son and laughed. Shower's eyes certainly are extraordinary and full of valor. In the future, upon seeing them, Others will know that Lu Changsheng has a Qilin son. He didn't feel much about these golden eyes. He just thought it was obvious that they were extraordinary and might easily cause trouble to arise. "Daddy, what about me? What about me?" Upon hearing this, Lu Lingyi immediately ran in front of Lu Changsheng, puffing out her chest, urging her father to take a good look and praise her. "Ha ha, my Xiaohe is clever and lovely, innocent and carefree. Who wouldn't like her? Daddy loves Xiaohe the most." Lu Changsheng, seeing his daughter's adorable manner, ruffled her hair bun and spoke with a laugh. After a pleasant family chat, Lu Changsheng called out to Lu Lingxiao, "Shower, come with me." Originally, he had planned to start both siblings on their cultivation journey together. However, due to the condition of his daughter Lu Lingyi, her cultivation had to be put on hold. After all, if his daughter started cultivating and it led to the awakening of the dragon roar physique, it would definitely cause some trouble. "Dad," Lu Lingxiao, hearing his father's words, promptly followed Lu Changsheng into the hall. "You are about to begin your cultivation, and I have found you a master." Lu Changsheng spoke, raising his hand slightly, and the ancient beast taming charm shimmered, bringing forth the sacred and noble, ethereal figure of Hong Lian. Lu Lingxiao immediately looked at the figure standing before him, clad in splendid palace robes, with exquisite and stunning features and an intangible form. Seeing Hong Lian's crimson pupils, he thought of his own light, golden eyes reflected in the mirror earlier and felt a sudden pause in his heart. "This is your master, Hong Lian." Lu Changsheng turned to his son and said, "Go on, greet your master." Disciple Lu Lingxiao greets master. Lu Lingxiao immediately took a step back and knelt down to pay respects to Hong Lian, performing the grand gesture of acknowledging a master. Lu Lingxiao knew of the high and noble status of Hong Lian, as his mother Ling Zixiao had informed him earlier, aware that becoming her disciple would greatly help his future cultivation. "Good, from now on, you are my disciple." Hong Lian accepted the homage with grace, her voice elegant and noble. Then, with a gentle lift of her hand, "Rise. I have no gift to give you, so I shall guide you in your cultivation instead." "Yes, master." Lu Lingxiao stood and responded. Following this, Hong Lian began to teach Lu Lingxiao cultivation. Often, those with good talent also possessed good comprehension. Under Hong Lian's guidance, Lu Lingxiao began cultivating within an hour. Even before he had absorbed any of nature's spiritual energy, the mere spiritual energy and dragon roar of yang energy surging within him allowed him to complete the channel qi into the body process. Moreover, both Hong Lian and Lu Changsheng could see that, with Lu Lingxiao's way of cultivation, it probably wouldn't take him long to make a breakthrough. Lu Changsheng felt that, at the rate of his son Lu Lingxiao's cultivation, he would likely break through in a foundation establishment by his 20s. Indeed, if hard work was enough, then what would be the need for talent? Lu Changsheng shook his head lightly. Seeing his children become increasingly talented, he deeply realized that effort was almost insignificant in the face of absolute talent. Then, he handed the ancient beast taming charm to his son Lu Lingxiao so that he could consult Hong Lian should any issues arise. Chapter 1029, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1029, Chapter 365, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Congratulations to the host. Your first ascendant has become a second-grade talisman master. You've earned one lottery draw opportunity. That day, while Lu Changsheng was training in the 100 Refinements treasure body art, he suddenly heard a system prompt. "Wang Shu has advanced to a second-grade talisman master." Huh. A smile crept onto Lu Changsheng's face, and he instantly knew his daughter, Lu Wangshu, had become a second-grade talisman master. After the incident with the Black Crow True Immortal years ago, his daughter Lu Wangshu had become much more diligent. Though she still had a playful streak in her, she was no longer like she used to be, interested in everything, wasting her talent and time. Most of her focus was now on cultivation and the talisman path. However, becoming a second-grade talisman master only gets a regular lottery draw. Lu Changsheng thought about how previously, when his son Lu Pingan had broken through to the second-order body refining, the system had given an advanced-level lottery draw. Is talisman making one rank below body refining? Or is it that all these are considered part of the 100 arts of cultivation and are counted together? After pondering for a moment, Lu Changsheng cursed, "Damn system," and got up to visit his daughter. Having become a second-grade talisman master, she must be thrilled and wanting to share her happiness with him. Sure enough, as he arrived at Lu Wangshu's courtyard, he immediately saw his daughter with a look of joy and happiness on her face. "Xiaohe, this is the first second-rank spirit talisman that sister has drawn. Once I become Jiang Country's #1 talisman cultivator in the future, this talisman will be priceless. No need for 98,000 or 9,800, just 998. Lu Wangshu held a spirit talisman in her hand, sharing her joy with her younger sister, Lu Lingyi. "But sister, I don't have that many spirit stones." Lu Lingyi, somewhat moved by her sister's words, glanced at her own purse and said weakly, "You can go ask Daddy for some." Thump. Lu Changsheng stepped forward immediately, knocked on Lu Wangshu's head, and said aloud, "Lu Wangshu, you really got some nerve, actually tricking Xiaohe out of her spirit stones." Although his daughter Lu Lingyi, because of her dragon roar physique, was not cultivating, Lu Changsheng still allowed the family to give her a share of cultivation resources every month to save as her own little treasure trove. "Dad, how can you say I'm tricking her? It's clearly keeping the resources within the family. By the time I become Jiang Country's #1 talisman cultivator, others will be clamoring for a talisman drawn by the young fairy Maiden Wangshu." Lu Wangshu retorted with an unconvinced look on her face. "Besides, if I don't become the #1 talisman cultivator in Jiang Country, because you keep knocking on my head, you'll have nowhere to cry when the time comes." "Lu Wangshu, when did I ever realize how vain you are talking about being the #1 talisman cultivator in Jiang Country? Where do you put your father then?" Lu Changsheng was amused by his daughter's words. "Humph, Dad, don't you think that being known as the father of Jiang Country's #1 talisman cultivator sounds even better than being the top talisman cultivator yourself?" Lu Wangshu wrapped her arm around her old father's arm, speaking out. Lu Changsheng, upon hearing his daughter's words, stroked his chin, feeling that she made quite a point. If his children, each with their exceptional talents, made great achievements in the core formation nascent soul stage, and excelled in the 100 arts of cultivation, couldn't he boast that before him stood the Southern Wilderness #1 body cultivator, the #1 sword cultivator, the #1 talisman cultivator, the #1 tool cultivator, the #1 goo cultivator, with 10 true monarchs and over 100 real immortals from the Lu family's ancestor? Cough, cough. Lu Changsheng dismissed the thoughts and asked his daughter, "Wangshu, did I just hear you say you've drawn a second-rank spirit talisman?" Although he already knew through the system, to satisfy his daughter's vanity and share in her joy, he was still willing to play along as a doting father. "Umph." Lu Wangshu proudly puffed out her chest, lifted her delicate chin, and handed the second-rank spirit talisman she had drawn to her old father. "Wangshu, did you draw this?" Lu Changsheng feigned a surprised and delighted expression. Lu Wangshu's mouth curved into a smile, gently nodding her head, the picture of grace and composure. Good, good, good. My daughter fairy maiden Wangshu truly deserves to be Jiang Country's future top talisman cultivator. No, the top one in the Southern Wilderness. With such talent, your father is humbled before you." Lu Changsheng praised her loudly. His daughter reaching second-grade talisman master status at her age was a mark of genius no matter where she was. This was when Lu Wangshu had been playful in her early years and not very interested in talisman making. Otherwise, with her talent for the talisman path, she probably would have achieved second grade a lot earlier. Of course, part of this was thanks to the 99 mystical talisman scripture. This talisman path technique required much time to understand spiritual patterns in the early stages, far more profound than typical second-rank talisman traditions. It was for this reason that Lu Wangshu's progress in cultivation and talisman path was slower. But Li Changsheng was not worried about the cultivation aspects. As long as his daughter built a solid foundation in the talisman path, once she achieved foundation establishment and formed her life-bound divine talisman, all those spiritual patterns would become her foundation. During her regular talisman-making process, she could condense mystical talisman qi to turn into her own cultivation and magical power. Lu Wangshu was very happy with Lu Changsheng's praise. However, Lu Changsheng also didn't forget about his other daughter Lu Lingyi, inquiring about her recent martial training. This daughter, due to her dragon roar physique, was not suited for cultivation just yet. So Lu Changsheng had her continue her martial training to temper her physical body. Upon hearing her father's words, Lu Lingyi immediately demonstrated her progress to her old father, throwing 2 punches his way. Good. Lu Changsheng praised, saying how great and powerful her punches were. System lottery draw. After spending time with his daughters, Lu Changsheng thought of the system lottery, silently invoking the command in his mind. Immediately, a light red roulette wheel appeared, spinning with a golden glow. After a few breaths, the gold light landed on the magical treasures category. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the magical treasure, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror. Award has been placed in the system space. The host can check it at any time. Chapter 1030, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1030, Chapter 365, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. A bronze ancient mirror emerged from the great spinning wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Another magical treasure? Lu Changsheng raised his eyebrows upon seeing this reward. He had previously won a magical treasure, the Starlight Plate, and now here came another magical treasure. Magic Artifact, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror. Grade, Top Grade Magical Treasure. Description, a treasured inheritance from the Cave Profound sect. It allows observation of a person's meridians and acupoints, insights into cultivation techniques, and the flow of their circuits. It can also activate magical treasures and assist in cultivation. Top-grade magical treasure. Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised when he saw the description of the magical treasure. The few magical treasures he had won from the lottery were at most high-quality treasures, like the fate-defying robe. He hadn't expected that this time he would get a top-grade magical treasure. However, judging by the effects, this magical treasure was not for combat purposes, but rather an auxiliary treasure. It could observe the state of others, their cultivation techniques, and assist in cultivation. Extract. Lu Changsheng immediately extracted the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror from the system to check its specific effects. In an instant, an elliptical bronze ancient mirror about 3 feet tall appeared in front of Lu Changsheng. The mirror shone with bright luminescence, and mysterious lotus-shaped patterns adorned its frame, giving it an aura of profound mystery and immense power. What a treasure! Lu Changsheng looked at the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror before him with excitement in his eyes. Although the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror lacked the ability for combat, just by dropping a person's blood onto the mirror and then shining it upon them, one could reflect all of their conditions. The flesh, meridians, dantian acupoints, and limbs could all be clearly reflected through the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, leaving no issue undiscovered. During this process, if the person was circulating their cultivation techniques or casting spells, the movement of their techniques, the state of their mana, and more could all be revealed. Moreover, it could also consume a great amount of mana, allowing the mirror to make self-adaptive adjustments to the practitioner's technique circuit. Or if there were any techniques or spells one couldn't learn, the mirror could be used to guide the practitioner into a deeply focused and captivating state to help them learn and comprehend, thus achieving twice the result with half the effort. Having this magical treasure, it will be much more convenient to instruct my children in cultivation in the future. And when I make a breakthrough to core formation, I can fully stimulate this magical treasure to enhance the cultivation level of my children by a whole grade. Lu Changsheng deeply realized the effectiveness of this magical treasure. Although the family had Hong Lian, a nascent soul true lord, to guide cultivation, Hong Lian was now only a spirit soul, usually residing within the ancient beast taming charm, at most providing simple guidance and answering questions based on nascent soul experience. It was impossible to check each individual's condition and provide targeted instruction. But with this cave mystique treasure mirror, one glance could reflect the condition, body state, and cultivation level of the family's children. By that time, with the information on the mirror, Hong Lian could use her experience as a nascent soul true lord to provide visionary and incisive suggestions. Furthermore, the effect of the mirror to micro-adjust the practitioner's technique circuits for self-adaptation was, in Lu Changsheng's view, astonishingly remarkable. Currently, only Lu Miaoge and Bai Ling had undergone self-adaptive adjustments in their cultivation due to their unique circumstances, perfectly aligning with their own situation. Others, including himself, had not encountered this situation. But the cave mystique treasure mirror could carry out simple deductions based on each person's situation, making simple self-adaptive micro-adjustments so that the effect of cultivation could be optimized. Even if the adjustment and adaptation only improved the efficiency of cultivation by 1% over time, the result would be tremendously impressive. However, the cave mystique treasure mirror probably won't have much effect on me, right? Lu Changsheng thought about the yin-yang creation scripture he was cultivating. Although the effect of the cave mystique treasure mirror was astonishing, it was, after all, just a magical treasure. It was unlikely to be able to adjust a cultivation technique of the caliber of the yin-yang creation scripture. Plus, he had system-assisted cultivation, which was already quite perfect. But after core formation, this shouldn't be much of a problem. Moreover, even the cave mystique treasure mirror probably couldn't surmise the yin-yang creation scripture better than I can myself. Lu Changsheng shook his head, not worried about these details. The issue of compatibility with cultivation techniques was mainly a problem in the early stages. Once a cultivator broke through to core formation, they would have a deep understanding of cultivation and their unique interpretations. On the path to nascent soul, they would adjust according to their own body structure, understanding of the great Tao, and even the cultivation environment, so that the technique perfectly aligned with themselves. Thus, after core formation, even if practicing the same technique, differences would gradually appear among those from the same sect. Lu Changsheng took the cave mystique treasure mirror, returned to the Changshan Hall, and began to refine this top-grade magical treasure. At Golden Dragon Ridge, within the Jin family, patriarch, now that Bihu Mountain has been moving many of its industries toward White Tiger Mountain, it will become increasingly difficult for us to reclaim White Tiger Mountain in the future. The patriarch of Jin family spoke respectfully to his ancestor. Over the years, he had been paying close attention to the movements of Bihu Mountain, from the early matters involving Lu Qingshan to last year's incident with Xia Zhaoyang, which made him more and more wary of Bihu Mountain. So fast. The growth rate of Bihu Mountain was incredibly fast. Although the family had only gained Lu Miayun, a foundation establishment cultivator, in recent years outside the family, besides the prodigious son Lu Qingshan, there were also Zhao Qingqing and Xia Zhaoyang at the Qingyun sect, two foundation establishment cultivators. And he had also learned that Lu Changsheng had a deep relationship with Fairy Shi Yu of Qingyun sect, a nascent soul immortal and sister to his master. Chapter 1031. Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1031. Chapter 365. Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. To be honest, he wasn't too keen on making an enemy of Bai Lake Mountain now. He just wanted to reclaim White Tiger Mountain for his own family. Let's wait regarding the matter of White Tiger Mountain, ancestor of Jin family said calmly. He was more wary of by Lake Mountain and the circumstances of Lu Changsheng and his wife than many others in his family. Initially, he wanted to use another's hand to kill, elevating by Lake Mountain, so that beast-taming Su family would take notice of Lu clan's couple. Who would have expected that beast-taming Su family would have such a catastrophe, resulting in the death of a false core patriarch? This caused the third ancestor of Su family to have no leisure to concern themselves with Lu Changsheng. Otherwise, if Lu Changsheng were to die, by Lake Mountain would no longer be a concern. Yes, Patriarch. Patriarch of Jin family responded respectfully. As the Patriarch of Jin family, he knew that the Great Elder, because of the previous incident with by Lake Mountain, had given up trying for core formation and was preparing to condense a false core. Although the false core was far from comparable to nascent soul immortals, with the preparations made by the family over the years, the Great Elder had at least a 50% certainty of condensing a false core. Once he condensed the false core, it would be enough to break the current deadlock in the family and take another step forward. Continue to observe the situation of by Lake Mountain, or use White Tiger Mountain to probe them. These years by Lake Mountain, Lu clan couple has been too calm. This Lu Changsheng does not seem like someone who is content. This time, their moving businesses to White Tiger Mountain might have some hidden purpose. Ancestor of Jin family spoke. Back then, he went to by Lake Mountain with Jin Zan to present gifts and apologize, raising by Lake Mountain status. Since then, by Lake Mountain seemed to realize being too high profile and has been very low-key these years. The occupation of White Tiger Mountain had been in a semi-abandoned state, until now they began to operate, arousing his suspicions. Yes, Patriarch. Patriarch of Jin family immediately replied. He came to see the Patriarch this time to report this matter, suspecting that by Lake Mountain had some kind of intention. Early on, once Lu Changsheng had taken over by Lake Mountain, he would stir up trouble every few years. But these years, not only has there been no movement, but even marrying and having children had slowed down. Like with Lu Qingshan, Xia Zhaoyang, and Xianxia, if he hadn't been paying attention to by Lake Mountain and Lu Changsheng, he wouldn't have known about these matters at all. Therefore, he suspected that by Lake Mountain, like his own family, was secretly plotting and accumulating strength, not wanting to draw attention to themselves. Patriarch Cheng Yin takes his leave. Then, Patriarch of Jin family took his leave. He prepared to probe by Lake Mountain through White Tiger Mountain to see what Lu Changsheng was really scheming. Mount Sumeru, Cave Heaven. Changsheng Hall. Lu Changsheng was refining the cave mystique treasure mirror. Suddenly, he sensed a pure surge of mana entering his chi ocean core. He knew one of his children had broken through to the 9th level energy refinement. As for his children's breakthrough to the 9th level energy refinement, he was still quite concerning. After all, the 9th level of energy refinement meant they needed to prepare for foundation establishment, and he, as their father, would have to prepare the foundation establishment elixir. Wangshu. Lu Changsheng first thought of his daughter Lu Wangshu and glanced at the system interface. Name: Lu Wangshu. Lifespan: 26 of 119. Talent: 4th grade spiritual root, blood talisman spiritual body, superior spirit body. Cultivation level: 8th level energy refinement. Talent: talisman path compatibility, 89%. Not Wangshu? Lu Changsheng was surprised. He hadn't expected it wasn't his daughter Lu Wangshu who broke through to the 9th level energy refinement. He continued looking at other children of his who were cultivating quickly. Name: Nangong Yao Yao. Lifespan: 20/141. Talent: 2nd grade spiritual root, flawless heavenly fragrance body, top level spiritual body. Cultivation level: 9th level energy refinement. Talent: charm technique compatibility, 89%. Yao Yao has reached the 9th level energy refinement. Lu Changsheng looked at the system panel before him, somewhat surprised and reflective. Unbeknownst to him, this daughter he had not yet met had reached the 9th level energy refinement. And, judging by the cultivation talent of this daughter, she could probably break through foundation establishment in 2 to 3 years. Such cultivation talent was the fastest among all his children. He anticipated that only Lu Lingxiao in the future might be comparable to her. However, Nangong Yaoyao's speed and cultivation, aside from her astonishing talent, probably had a lot to do with Nangong Mili's nurturing. Sai, Lu Changsheng had thought about visiting Jin Kingdom to meet this daughter after forming his core. But at his current pace, reaching core formation would probably take another decade or so. By that time, the daughter would have already broken through foundation establishment and her personality set. Sigh. Lu Changsheng sighed again and closed his eyes to continue refining his cave mystique treasure mirror. 2 months later, Lu Changsheng observed the cave mystique treasure mirror floating before his eyes. After more than 3 months, he had finally succeeded in refining the magical treasure. Whoosh! Lu Changsheng forced out a drop of essence blood, which flew towards the cave mystique treasure mirror. As the treasure mirror swallowed the drop of essence blood, radiant light flowed like a pure and sacred 5-colored lotus beginning to bloom. Immediately, an outline of a human body slowly emerged on the mirror surface, like a 3D human model, lacking specific facial features. It displayed the skin, muscles, blood flow, veins, mana, dantian, and acupoints in different colors, clearly visible to the observer. So, this is my Boda's condition: flawless skin and muscles, robust blood flow like rivers, strong mana. But in the Qi Ocean core, there are 2 different kinds of mana, showing that the 7 luminaries' mana is transitioning into yin-yang magic power. Lu Changsheng looked at the situation inside the cave mystique treasure mirror and could tell his physique and body were perfect without any blemishes or hidden injuries. Then, he attempted to circulate the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. In the cave mystique treasure mirror, a stream of 7 luminaries' mana flowed through his inner veins and acupoints. Chapter 1032. Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. _4 Chapter 1032. Chapter 365. Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. _4 The process was incredibly smooth, seamless, and without the slightest delay or pause, indicating his mana and physical body were in perfect harmony, and his cultivation had no issues. TSK, it's just like me. Lu Changsheng's face revealed a hint of a smile. Then, with his fingers together, he executed the 7 luminaries' sword chi. In the reflection of the cave mystique treasure mirror, a stream of mana traveled from the dantian through the meridians and instantly condensed into a sharp sword chi at his fingertips. This process was also exceptionally smooth and flowing. However, when Lu Changsheng switched to a technique that he had not obtained through the system but had studied previously, his mana became significantly stiffer and not as practiced and smooth as before. This magical treasure truly is a treasure for transmitting teachings. Lu Changsheng nodded in appreciation. Afterward, he wanted to try to activate the cave mystique treasure mirror to deduce the state of his cultivation technique. But when mana surged into the cave mystique treasure mirror, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. It merely nudged the magical treasure without being able to activate this effect. This made Lu Changsheng realize that even though he had broken through to core formation, using the treasure mirror to correct others' cultivation techniques was not easy and required a substantial amount of mana. The other effect of the treasure mirror, the ability to guide others in their cultivation through the mirror disciple, likewise required great magical power to sustain. Without delay, Lu Changsheng left the Changsheng Hall and found his wife, Lu Miaoyan. He asked her to notify all the Lu family disciples who had begun their cultivation to come. He wanted to inspect their cultivation status. Lu Miaoyan, although not knowing why Lu Changsheng had suddenly taken such an interest, did not ask more questions and immediately had their son, Lu Yun, gather the family disciples. Before long, 37 Lu family disciples lined up in a queue, excluding the 28 children who were out, all looking at Lu Changsheng, their father and grandfather, with a mix of nervousness and trepidation. After all, Lu Changsheng had never conducted such a surprise inspection of their cultivation status. Usually, he would only take an interest and ask about it at family banquets or under certain circumstances. Many concubines, hearing the news, came to watch, wanting to know what was happening. They worried that if their children's cultivation was poor or performance lacking, it would displease Lu Changsheng. "Yuner, let's start with you," said Lu Changsheng, looking at his son, Lu Yun. Now that Lu Pingon, Lu Xianxia, Lu Qianjin, Lu Rui, and others were all out, Lu Yun was the eldest among these children. "Yes, father." Lu Yun walked up to Lu Changsheng. Lu Changsheng did not use the cave mystique treasure mirror right away. Instead, he shrunk it to the size of a palm and held it in his hand, asking Lu Yun to drop a drop of essence blood on it. Lu Yun did not hesitate. A magical sword appeared in his hand. He cut his finger and let a drop of essence blood fall onto the cave mystique treasure mirror. Instantly, Lu Changsheng activated the cave mystique treasure mirror and saw an image of his son. He could clearly see every detail of his son's body, meridians, dantian, and mana. Lu Yun's image was not as flawless and radiant with golden light as his own. It had several small red spots, indicating areas of concern. They might have originated from issues during cultivation, fighting techniques, childhood bumps and bruises, or even daily habits. "Run your cultivation technique," Lu Changsheng said to Lu Yun. As expected, as Lu Yun operated his cultivation technique, the flow of mana would clearly slow down a bit at the red spots, not flowing as smoothly as it should. Lu Yun himself might not have noticed these nuances in his daily practice. But under the reflection of the cave mystique treasure mirror, Lu Changsheng could see everything clearly. Your spiritual energy at the celestial spring acupoint and the extreme spring acupoint is somewhat uncomfortable. Later, go to the medical pavilion for treatment and nourishment. During your daily sitting cultivation, let spiritual power linger a bit longer, about 3 breaths at these few spots. Lu Changsheng spoke up, offering guidance on his son's current situation. The issues were there, but they were not severe. After all, with guidance from Hong Lian, he occasionally paid attention to the cultivation status of his children. If the cave mystique treasure mirror had detected a pile of problems, he and Hong Lian might as well have gone and banged their heads against tofu. Now, for him and Hong Lian, the cave mystique treasure mirror served to identify and fix deficiencies. It made their children's cultivation as close to perfect as possible. Once he broke through to core formation, he would be able to use the cave mystique treasure mirror to transmit teachings and allow their cultivation techniques to adapt accordingly, reaching true perfection. Celestial Spring Acupoint, Extreme Spring Acupoint. Lu Yun was unaware of the issues in these areas. However, he trusted his father's words completely, without any doubt, and respectfully responded, "Yes, father." Immediately, the next son stepped forward. Lu Changsheng instructed him to do as Lu Yun did, then said, "You should consume a breakthrough elixir for the realm you're attempting to break through, right? Your foundation is still somewhat shaky. You need to solidify your foundation well in the coming time. Then, during sitting cultivation and while running your cultivation technique, linger a bit longer at the shoulder center shu, fanning wind at several points. Wait until you are at the peak of the 7th level before rushing to break through. Exchange for a 3 sons elixir from the family. Then continue your cultivation." After checking his son's condition, Lu Changsheng quickly offered pinpoint advice. Not only was he proficient in a multitude of cultivation techniques, but as a second-order alchemist, he also had a basic understanding of pharmacology. "Thank you, father." The son exhaled in relief and nodded in agreement. Thus, one by one, the children lined up and approached. Lu Changsheng gave them advice on their physical condition and some issues in their cultivation. All the wives and Lu family disciples were surprised. They all looked at their father, their grandfather, with astonishment and doubt. Lu Miaoyun, seeing this situation, guessed that her husband must have obtained some treasure or had cultivated some new technique and magical powers. Otherwise, Her husband wouldn't have possessed such an astonishing capability before. This time, their son Lu Lingxiao also came to line up. Lu Changsheng checked his condition through the cave mystique treasure mirror. The son's body had no problems at all. Even his eyes and left hand shimmered with golden specks, indicating that his cultivation of eye and left hand techniques and magical powers was extraordinary. It took a whole day for Lu Changsheng to examine all his children's conditions. They all had no major problems, at most some minor ones. It showed that Hong Lian was truly exceptional. There was no need for a detailed check on each person's condition. By resolving some issues they encountered during their daily cultivation practice, he could solve most of their problems. This checkup also allowed Lu Changsheng to gain a detailed understanding of the cultivation progress of all his family's disciples. For example, his son Lu Qingxian was progressing slightly faster in his cultivation than his daughter Lu Wangshu. It was estimated that he would be able to break through to the 9th level of qi refinement in another 2 months. But this was normal. This son, with a 4th-grade spiritual root, was much more diligent and hardworking than Lu Wangshu in cultivation and didn't need to be distracted by other things. Immediately after, Lu Changsheng told Lu Miaoyun that from now on, every 6 months when instructing cultivation, she should inform him. He would examine and guide the Lu family disciples' cultivation progress with Hong Lian. 3 months later, congratulations, host. 5 of your children have broken through to the 9th level of qi refinement, granting you 1 lottery draw opportunity. 5, and there's child money already? Could this be related to the number of times qi is channeled into the body? Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose as he heard the system's prompt. He guessed it must be his son Lu Qingxian who had broken through to the 9th level of qi refinement. Upon checking the system interface, it was indeed the case. Although this son had only just made a breakthrough, Lu Changsheng planned to refine the 2nd batch of Foundation Establishment elixirs after some time. Over the years, the family had already gathered all the auxiliary ingredients for the Foundation Establishment elixir, ready to start alchemy at any time. System Draw Prize. Having obtained a cave mystique treasure mirror not long ago, Lu Changsheng was now very interested in magical treasures. He was thinking about getting another treasure like the Illusion Heart platform from Qingyun sect, a soul-searching magical treasure, or another kind of magical treasure that could nurture and temper the family's disciples. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining an exotic treasure. Insect Nest Bag. Reward has been issued to the system space. Host can check it at any time. A silver-gray bag with a fierce pattern emerged from the roulette wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. An exotic treasure? Lu Changsheng raised his eyebrows upon seeing this reward. He was quite fond of exotic treasures. Because exotic treasures had no usage restrictions, and most of their effects were quite good. It was just that this particular exotic treasure seemed a bit unorthodox. With a slight stir in his mind, Lu Changsheng looked towards the system space. Exotic treasure. Insect nest bag. Grade. 3rd rank. Description. Suitable for the survival of most spiritual insects. If demon beast flesh and blood are thrown in, the insect nest bag will automatically refine it, forming flesh and blood bug pellets that can accelerate the propagation and growth of spiritual insects. It's a bit lackluster. Lu Changsheng shook his head after reading the introduction to this exotic treasure. In his early years, due to Meng Xiaoquan's influence, he had taken an interest in insect control. But gradually he lost this interest. Also, possessing the ancient beast taming charm. If he really wanted to raise spiritual insects, he could completely let Hong Lian help with the breeding. After all, the effect of the insect nest bag was not only similar, but the ancient beast taming charm was many times better. So in his view, although the insect nest bag was nice, it was a rather superfluous treasure. And the family doesn't seem to have any insect control inheritance, nor does anyone seem to have a talent for it. Lu Changsheng let out a sigh. However, the next moment his eyes narrowed slightly as he suddenly thought of one of his sons. Chapter 1033. The Path of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyful Tragedy. Chapter 1033. Chapter 366. The Path of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyful Tragedy. Bihu Lake Mountain, Lu Family Academy. The cultivation world is full of killing and danger. One misstep, and you could perish, your path to immortality cut short. How should we respond? How to avoid danger? Xianxia, you speak first. The lecturer looked at an 11 or 12-year-old boy with rosy lips, white teeth, and a handsome face. First, we should avoid getting involved in trouble or entangled with strange people and situations, and the best way is simply to stay at home and not go out. Xianxia stood up and said so. Ha ha! Never leave home for a lifetime. If you want to cultivate, unless you have the rumored heavenly spiritual root, without an opportunity or a stroke of fortune, how can you succeed in cultivation? Youngsters of the same age in the academy laughed. Second, it is the trump cards, the methods. The cultivation world is so dangerous. One must have sufficient trump cards, methods unknown to others, so that we can solve the dangers and troubles we may encounter with those of the same realm. Third, always be ready to run away. Even if you must go out seeking opportunities, don't risk your life. Xianxia, unconcerned by the look in others' eyes, said so. This question was one he had once asked his father, and it was the answer his father had given him. Upon hearing this, the lecturer fell silent for a moment before speaking. Xianxia makes a good point. While cultivation requires a spirit of enterprise, one's own safety must always come first. After class ended, Xianxia came to the Lu family's library alone. Because Xianxia had liked to read in his earlier years, learning about the cultivation world, he believed all his children should read widely. Therefore, he had moved all the common, marketplace-available books on cultivation back to his home, placing them in the library. It could be said that the collection in the Lu family's library was more complete than most marketplaces' bookstores. Xianxia liked to come to the library and read whenever he had spare time. Not that he truly enjoyed reading. On one hand, his personality was somewhat reclusive, with not many friends, preferring to be alone. On the other hand, it was his somewhat unfamiliar memory of his mother telling him to listen to his father and try his best to gain his father's favor. He wanted to perform well in front of his father, to be noticed by him. Foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul. These divine skills are indeed profound. It's just a pity that I'm only in the chi refinement realm, just getting a glimpse of the path. Well, these old topics aren't very interesting to look at anyway. Xianxia casually read books, came across a manual recording the realms of cultivation, shook his head, and mused under his breath. He had already channeled chi into his body and naturally knew about the major realms of cultivation. But he was also aware that those who could cultivate to the foundation establishment stage were rare. Even with his 5th grade spiritual root and good talent, he did not dare to say that he could establish his foundation in the future. Path of the Insect Control, myriad insects gathering in the thousands and millions, able to destroy cities and pull down strongholds, invincible in all directions. A million fierce insects could even shake the heavens. Iron fire ants, a gregarious, fierce insect that devours metals and nature's spiritual energy, extremely vicious, immune to water and fire, likes to cluster in spherical forms. 9-een venom bee, born in the 9-een lands, an ancient mutant bee that gathers in swarms, can spray purple poison gas, and whoever is stung by its 9-tailed bee sting will die instantly. Huishan worm, a parasitic and peculiar insect, feeds on the spirits and souls of others, and as soon as it suffers a divine sense attack, it immediately releases a special poison attacking the source. Sky-devouring locust, blood jade spider, iron fire ant, red flame scorpion. And my 1,000-legged centipede is also in this book. Xianxia found this unknown manual of rare insects quite interesting. His cultivation technique was called the beast technique, and he was going to pursue the path of beast taming. Insect control was very close to beast taming, and could even be considered as a branch of beast taming. Moreover, when he began his cultivation, his mother had given him a 1,000-legged centipede with Earth-grade bloodline. It was also for this reason that he realized his often absent mother was extraordinary. After all, a demon beast with Earth-grade bloodline. Most people did not have the capability and wealth to acquire one. If only my 1,000-legged centipede were a gregarious, fierce insect. Then, according to this book, a chi refinement cultivator with hundreds or thousands of fierce insects could also assassinate a foundation-building great cultivator. After finishing the book, Xianxia sighed to himself. Xianxia. Just then, suddenly a gentle voice sounded at Xianxia's ear. He turned abruptly, looking to see a handsome young man dressed in a green robe standing not too far away. He immediately shook, saluted with clasped hands, and said, "Your son pays his respects to father. Are you interested in the way of insect control?" Xianxia asked his son. This son of his had a 5th-grade spiritual root, inheriting some of Su Rian's talent for beast taming. Thus, when Hong Lian taught the Liu family's disciples to cultivate, she expressed that this child had a good talent for beast taming. And Su Rian also sent her son a 1,000-legged centipede with a mid-grade Earth-level bloodline. I just happened across it and was getting to know it a little. Xianxia did not know what his father had come to see him for and was quite constrained. If you're interested in the way of insect control, you can delve into it. Lu Zhang smiled warmly and produced a silver-gray bag emblazoned with layers of ferocious patterns, bound with red strings. This bag is called an insect nest bag and is very suitable for housing spiritual insects. Normally, when feeding the insects, just put the flesh and blood of demon beasts into the bag, and it will automatically form flesh and blood bug pellets, accelerating the growth and reproduction of the spiritual insects. If you're interested and perform well in the path of insect control, then this bag will be yours. Lu Zhang tossed the bag to his son and said this. Insect control could be considered a branch of beast taming. If his son showed good talent on the path of insect control, Lu Zhang thought of giving the insect nest bag to him. Chapter 1034. The Way of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyous Bereavement. Chapter 1034. Chapter 366. The Way of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyous Bereavement. After all, the insect nest bag reminded him of the ancient beast taming charm and of Su Rian. Su Rian had been with the beast taming Su family all these years, unable to be by Xianxia's side. Naturally, as a father, he had to show some concern. Moreover, his son was capable of mastering the beast technique, which made him worthy of focused cultivation. Insect nest bag, the path of insect control. Although Xianxia did not know why his father suddenly mentioned the path of insect control, observing the silver-gray bag in his hand, he did not hesitate and immediately cupped his hands, saying, "Thank you, father. Your son will certainly not disappoint you." Xianxia nodded, then checked on this son's cultivation and life matters. He asked him to seek Lu Yun's help to purchase insect eggs, and also allocated an extra 50 spirit stones each month for him to nurture the insects. After making these arrangements, Xianxia returned to Blue Lake Mountain. For him, this matter was just something done in passing. Whether this son could make something of himself depended on his own efforts. A year later, Mount Sumeru, Cave Heaven, Changshan Hall. A powerful mana force emanated from the cave mansion, intangible spiritual pressure already surpassing the foundation establishment level, akin to that of a false core immortal. As expected at this rate, without even fully converting the yin-yang creation scripture, the realm could achieve a breakthrough to the 9th-level foundation establishment through my children. Xianxia opened his eyes. His gaze was piercing, as if it were 2 intimidating swords. Over the years, he had spent most of his time converting the yin-yang creation scripture. Still, relying on the added cultivation from his children and the gradual improvement of sun-moon samsara technique, his progress could still be considered incredibly fast. He quietly sensed the mana within his body. With the enhancement from the profound origin bead, his mana was now indistinguishable from that of a false core immortal. It was even more robust than some inept practitioners with false core power. But now his profound origin bead had also reached its limit. Even if he continued to improve, this bead could no longer provide any enhancement. Being able to amplify to this extent is already quite impressive. If I break through to core formation, this profound origin bead would likely only serve as an ordinary boosting magical treasure. Lu Changsheng exhaled deeply, planning to pass down this bead through his family lineage after his breakthrough to core formation. After all, for Foundation Establishment cultivators, this bead was truly a top-tier treasure. Promptly, Lu Changsheng continued to meditate, stabilizing the mana he had just broken through. 5 days later, Lu Changsheng exited the cave mansion and looked at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in the spiritual spring. Besides the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, there were also 3 heavenly origin precious lotuses. These were additional ones that Xianxia had delivered 2 years ago. However, Lu Changsheng was focusing all his efforts on cultivating the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, so these 3 lotuses showed little change. It seems like the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus might not advance to Tianyuan Lotus before I break through core formation. How about I use the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus for now, and swap it out once the Tianyuan Lotus is cultivated? Lu Changsheng looked at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in front of him, rubbed his chin, and pondered. Although advancing it to Tianyuan Lotus could not be better, the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus was sufficient for his current stage of use. Let's nurture it for 3 more years, then it'll harvest and cultivate the next one. Lu Changsheng thought to himself, walked out of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, and visited the Lu family mansion to see Xia Zizhu. 3 months ago, the first child after Xia Zizhu's foundation establishment was born. Unfortunately, this child only had a 5th grade spiritual root. This made the hopeful Lu Changsheng sigh slightly. However, considering the spirit-nurturing physique was just an ordinary spiritual body, being able to give all children spiritual roots and enhance their quality was already remarkable. How could one expect a high-quality spiritual root in just one birth? It had already been very fortunate to have Lu Xingchen born years ago. Therefore, Lu Changsheng planned to have more children with Xia Zizhu after his breakthrough to core formation. On one hand, the children born then would surely have better talents. On the other hand, Xia Zizhu had already given birth to 5 children. He couldn't possibly let her keep bearing children endlessly just because of her unique physique. Besides, giving birth after core formation would also be strenuous for Xia Zizhu, requiring proper recuperation. Qingzhou Mountain. Ever since Lu Changsheng established Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, Qingzhou Mountain had also been prospering. Although the family only had Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Muping, 2 foundation establishment cultivators, stationed there, after so many years of development, fresh blood and a core force had been replenished in the family. Moreover, with the foundation establishment elixirs given by Lu Changsheng, half sold, half donated 5 years ago, Qingzhou Mountain could cultivate a 3rd foundation establishment great cultivator anytime it wished. However, Lu Yuanzhong was very cautious about the selection of the family's 3rd foundation establishment cultivator. Now, with him and Lu Muping stationed there, 100 years of peace was assured. Thus, he believed the 3rd foundation establishment cultivator had to be a tiger-like and wolf-like aggressive leader, not another conservative one. Only in this way could their Qingzhou Mountain step further in the future and not just rely on Blue Lake Mountain. In Qingzhou Valley, a small courtyard full of Qingling bamboo, the 4th elder was basking in the sun on a reclining chair. She was now 124 years old. Though energy-refining cultivators could live to 120, very few actually reached this age. If not for the 2nd-rank lifespan extension pill given by Lu Changsheng, considering the effort she put into researching and drawing talismans in her youth, it would have been hard to reach this age. Now, regardless of age or status, she was truly an elder in Qingzhou Mountain. I miss Xianxia. Ugh. The old lady basking on the reclining chair squinted her cloudy eyes, feeling her sight blur slightly, and suddenly murmured softly, "Great ancestor, what did you say?" The younger generation of the Liu family immediately came closer to inquire, attending by her side. Chapter 1035, The Way of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyous Bereavement. Chapter 1035, Chapter 366, The Way of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyous Bereavement. The fourth elder slightly turned his head to look at the younger generation beside him. His voice louder by a few degrees, feeble and exhausted. He said, "I miss Changsheng and Yuner. I want to see Changsheng and Yuner." Lu Xuanya, upon hearing the words of her great-grandmother, immediately understood that she was referring to her own grandfather and grandmother. Her grandfather usually stayed indoors and only occasionally ventured out to visit Qingzhou Mountain. As for her grandmother, for some reason, she had not come to Qingzhou Mountain for almost 20 years. If it were not for the enduring good relations between the two families, she would have suspected that her grandmother had some dispute with Qingzhou Mountain, which was why she never came. She was just about to say that her grandparents and the others were not at Qingzhou Mountain, and it might take some days before they could come. But seeing the fourth elder's withered and gaunt face flushing slightly, her cloudy and dim eyes brightened a bit, as if imploringly gazing at her, her heart abruptly missed a beat. Her father Lu Yun had told her and her siblings to frequently visit Qingzhou Mountain to keep their ancestor company, having informed them that the fourth elder had not much time left. Now, seeing the ancestor in such a state, she immediately thought of the phenomenon known as rallying before death. "Ancestor, please wait. I will go right away to inform grandfather and grandmother to come." The girl's heart quivered, her eyes reddened, and she spoke with pursed lips. Then, she hastily conveyed the message to Lu Yuanding and others at Qingzhou Mountain, and sent a message to her father. By Lake Mountain, Lu Changsheng was engaged in alchemy when his son, Lu Yun, came to report. A message had arrived from Qingzhou Mountain. The fourth elder's light was nearly out, the end was near. "Has your mother received the message?" Lu Changsheng, after a moment of silence, asked. Birth, aging, illness, and death are the norm in life. He had consistently visited the fourth elder on Qingzhou Mountain over the years. He could clearly see that her lifespan was coming to an end. Now, the day had inevitably come. "I haven't informed mother yet," Lu Yun said, his face heavy with sorrow. He knew his mother could not leave by Lake Mountain because of the cultivation technique she practiced. If his grandmother were to learn of her own great-grandmother's impending death and be unable to visit her for the last time, her heart would surely be overcome with grief. "He'll go ahead." Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and said. He prepared to rush to Qingzhou Mountain to see the fourth elder for the last time and bring her to Bai Lake Mountain. His wife Lu Miaoyan was raised by the fourth elder from a young age, and they shared a deep bond. If she could not even see the elder for one last time, there would be an indelible pain and bitterness in her heart, and it might even lead to the emergence of a heart demon. "Yes, father." Lu Yin understood his father's intent. The next moment, he saw his father step directly out of the alchemy chamber, then transform into an escape light and leave by Lake Mountain. Sigh. Lu Yun watched his father's departing figure, heaving a deep sigh, his heart filled with an inexplicable bitterness. Cultivation. In the end, nobody can escape the pain of parting by life and death. The stronger the cultivator, the more they must endure and face. "But I suppose, in the future, I will likely go ahead of my parents." Lu Yun gazed at the azure sky, feeling a wave of sadness. The life of a cultivator is not only about facing countless life and death battles, but also about enduring the partings and deaths of loved ones and friends. It is for this very reason, as cultivators grow older, their demeanor often becomes more detached. It is not because they are naturally indifferent. It's because they have experienced too much. An hour later, Lu Changsheng arrived at Qingzhou Mountain, riding on the Starlight Plate. "Uncle, grandfather." At this time, quite a few people were already waiting at the mountain gate. Upon seeing Lu Changsheng, they stepped forward and respectfully paid their respects. Lu Changsheng did not engage in much small talk with them, simply acknowledging their greeting before going straight to Qingzhou Valley, to the fourth elder's courtyard. Changsheng, uncle. Changsheng, you've come. Lu Yuanding and others were somewhat surprised by his speed when they saw Lu Changsheng had hurried over. At this time, Lu Miaoga had also rushed over from Red Leaf Valley Marketplace and was using Tai True water to nourish the fourth elder's physical body. But at this moment, the fourth elder's visage was gaunt. Her body not only exuded an atmosphere of deep twilight, but also a dense aura of death. This was the end of her lifespan. Unless there was a top-tier treasure capable of prolonging life, there was no reversing her fate. Changsheng, the fourth elder, seeing the young man who resembled an orchid and pine inside, her cloudy eyes gleaming faintly, said with a hoarse and aged voice, tremblingly stretching forth her withered arm, "Grandmother, I'm here." Lu Changsheng's heart felt heavy as he stepped forward to take the fourth elder's hand. Even though he had long known of this day, this moment, and had been mentally prepared, the sight of the old lady on her deathbed still caused an unspeakable sadness in his heart. Changsheng, don't be sad. Grandmother is content and happy to have lived to see you and Miaoyun. To see the family like this, the fourth elder, her eyes cloudy, her mouth opening and closing, kept saying, "You and Miaoyun, Miaoga, must take good care of yourselves. It's a pity grandmother won't see the day you both become great cultivators. Little Yun has a sincere nature. You as a father must take good care of him. If Qingzhou Mountain ever encounters trouble in the future, if you can help, then do lend them a hand." Although she lived only to be 124 years old, by that age, she had already experienced many, many things. She not only witnessed the rise and fall of her family, but also watched her children, family elders, and peers of her age pass away one by one. Now, in all of Qingzhou Mountain, there was no longer anyone of her generation left. Hence, the only concerns and attachments left in her heart were for Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoyun, and the family that had raised and cared for her. "Grandmother, rest assured, I will certainly take good care of Miaoyun, Sister Miaoga, and Lil Yun. As long as I, Lu Changsheng, am alive, Qingzhou Mountain will always stand." Chapter 1036. The Way of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyous Bereavement. _4 Chapter 1036. Chapter 366. The Way of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyous Bereavement. _4 Lu Changsheng clasped the old man's hand, speaking in a solemn voice and making a formal promise. Beside him, Lu Yuanding, Lu Yuanzhong, and others listened to these words with heavy hearts, silently lamenting. At this moment, the elder still couldn't forget his family. Although with Lu Changsheng's character and the connection through Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaoga, and Lu Miaohuan, the relationship between the two families could be maintained. Yet the elder still clung to his decaying body, leaving his last words at the moment of death. "Yuner, Yuner." As he spoke, the fourth elder suddenly looked up, searching for his granddaughter, Lu Miaoyun. She knew that Lu Miaoyun practiced the heavenly longevity technique and couldn't leave. But at this time, she was no longer fully coherent, merely wishing to see her granddaughter one last time before dying. "Grandma, I will take you to see Yuna right now." Hearing this, Lu Changsheng took a deep breath, glanced toward Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanzhong, and said, "Yuner cannot come because of the heavenly longevity technique, so I will now take Grandma to meet Yuner for their farewell." After speaking, he looked at Lu Miaoga next to him and said, "Sister Miaoga, stabilize Grandma's life force. Well, go there now." All right. Although the fourth elder's condition didn't allow for much time, and it was not advisable to trouble her, but they all knew about the matter of the heavenly longevity technique and that Lu Miaoyun could not leave Bihu Lake Mountain. If the fourth elder and Lu Miaoyun were to part in life and death without a final meeting, it would leave a deep regret in their hearts, difficult to reconcile. "Grandma, let's go see Yuna now." The starlight plate appeared beneath Lu Changsheng's feet. Then he had Lu Miaoge hold the fourth elder, and the three of them turned into a streak of starlight and shot off. What kind of magic artifact is under Changsheng's feet? Such astonishing speed. Such speed. Lu Yuanzhong, Lu Yuanding, Lu Muping, and others watched as Lu Changsheng flew with such speed, exchanging glances in surprise, because this flying speed had surpassed their understanding. However, they did not guess too much, and immediately after some discussion, Lu Yuanding took some people to Bihu Lake Mountain, while Lu Muping went to sit in the Red Leaf Valley Market. The Red Leaf Valley Market had been attacked by a demon cultivator before, and Lu Yuanzhong was seriously injured. Therefore, they were concerned that robber cultivators might learn that there was no Foundation establishment cultivator in charge of the Red Leaf Valley Market and come to loot. Bihu Lake Mountain. Grandma. Upon seeing the fourth elder, Lu Miaoyun was overwhelmed with grief, crying inconsolably. The elder was the person she was closest to. In these years, she couldn't go out to visit Qingzhou Mountain, only asking her children to visit the elder on her behalf. And as the elder grew older, he didn't like to travel much, making infrequent visits to Bihu Lake Mountain. So in these years, the two didn't meet often. Now that they met again, it was a parting in life and death. Yun'er, the fourth elder, held her granddaughter's hand, softly muttering words of care and concern, and did the same for the siblings Lu Yun and Lu Yu. She had no more attachments, only unwillingness to let go of her concerns for the family and the younger generation. As night approached, Lu Changsheng saw the elder's face become peaceful as her eyes closed, the last bit of life force dissipating. He sighed. He took a few steps back and bowed deeply. Grandma. Lu Miaoyun and the others, seeing this scene, turned red-eyed, weeping loudly and crying tears. Afterward, they followed the fourth elder's last wish, taking her remains to Qingzhou Mountain's ancestral hall, holding an extravagant mourning ceremony. The funeral was conducted with great pomp. It did not seem like the death of an energy-refining cultivator. Not only did Bihu Lake Mountain wear white mourning clothes, but many Foundation establishment families from the surrounding area also came to offer incense and pay their respects. Chapter 1037. There are 3 million sword cultivators in the world. All must lower their brows upon seeing me. Chapter 1037. Chapter 367. There are 3 million sword cultivators in the world. All must lower their brows upon seeing me. Bihu Mountain was as pure as Qingzhou Mountain, and the death of an energy-refining cultivator had piqued the curiosity of many loose cultivators and young cultivators. Why was it treated with such solemnity? When they learned that the old man was a senior relative of the main mother and mountain lord of Bihu Mountain, they couldn't help but sigh and take Lu Changsheng as an example to strive for. They fantasized about rising like Lu Changsheng. After all, the story of Lu Changsheng's rise was both inspiring and enviable to countless cultivators at the bottom. White Tiger Mountain continued to operate normally during this time, unaffected by the fourth elder's passing. With the relocation of Bihu Mountain's puppet workshop, White Tiger Mountain could now be considered the industrial park beneath Bihu Mountain. Not only did the puppet workshop expand, but under Lu Changsheng's guidance and arrangements, the artifact refining workshop also expanded orderly and integrated artifact refining with puppetry. This night, outside White Tiger Mountain, boom, 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 a torrential and surging wave of mana continually closed in on White Tiger Mountain. The patrolling cultivators of White Tiger Mountain immediately sent out an alert. Shortly after, a vigorous and resolute young man, around 28 or 29 years old, hurried over. What's going on? Lu Qingsong had been in charge of White Tiger Mountain for years, serving as the mountain master. To appear sufficiently authoritative, he had given up his youthful appearance and grown a pair of dense, inky mustaches. Mountain Master, it seems to be a standoff between Foundation establishment great cultivators. One of the stationed cultivators immediately reported, Foundation establishment cultivators fighting? Lu Song, upon hearing this, looked towards the source of the mana fluctuations and furrowed his brows. Fighting so close to their gate was a grave offense. It could not only damage their wood and mineral veins, but also bring unnecessary trouble. Taoist of White Tiger Mountain, my surname is Sure, and I am the head of the Tianwei Escort Agency. I have been ambushed by robber cultivators on my way. Please lend aid. There will be a generous reward afterward. Before long, Lu Song could see a tall Foundation Establishment cultivator being pursued by two Foundation Establishment cultivators wearing conical hats. The pursued cultivator looked extremely disheveled. He could only defend while being chased, shouting for help towards White Tiger Mountain. The Tianwei Escort Agency. Lu Song squinted his eyes slightly. This was a large, chain escort business operating extensively. Ordinary cultivators, as long as they had a clean background and some strength, could register as escort guards of the Tianwei Escort Agency and accept escort missions. Places like Bihu Mountain and White Tiger Mountain, due to business needs, had many dealings with the Tianwei Escort Agency. This matter doesn't concern you, White Tiger Mountain dwellers. Don't unnecessary trouble for yourselves. One of the conical-hatted Foundation Establishment cultivators coldly snorted. Please, Taoist, lend a hand. I have a commission to fulfill. If you can help, there will be a generous reward from our Tianwei Escort Agency. The pursued tall cultivator continued to shout, his voice urgent and desperate, with a plea for help. I don't care who you are or where you're from. This place is within the bounds of White Tiger Mountain. Leave at once, or you will bear the consequences. Lu Song, facing the situation, spoke with a chilling expression, uttering a stern command. He seemed to realize that, being merely an energy-refining cultivator, such words might not be deterrent enough. At that moment, the entire mountain protection array of White Tiger Mountain fully activated, and in the sky above, it appeared as if a fierce tiger was crouching, fierce and majestic, roaring at the three men with overwhelming presence. Our Tianwei Escort Agency has quite a bit of business with your White Tiger Mountain and Bihu Mountain. In such circumstances, you would stand by and let robber cultivators do as they please? Upon hearing this, the pursued Foundation Establishment cultivator immediately cried out in rage and despair. However, Lu Song remained indifferent to such words and continued with an icy tone. They'll say it again, leave the vicinity of White Tiger Mountain immediately. Otherwise, bear the consequences. During his words, a ghostly light emerged from the depths of White Tiger Mountain, roaring towards the sky. It was the 9 Netherhound that guarded White Tiger Mountain. In past years, every time minor mischief occurred at White Tiger Mountain, Lu Song and the 9 Netherhound would take care of it. Thus, surrounding families were well aware that White Tiger Mountain had a second-order spiritual beast as its guardian. Seeing the situation, the pursued Foundation Establishment cultivator could only maneuver his magic artifact with an ugly expression and escape towards the mountain range along the edge of White Tiger Mountain. Moments later, after seeing the 3 men leave, Lu Song spoke to the patrolling cultivators. Be extra vigilant during this time. At the first sign of anything amiss, activate the Great Formation. In previous years, during demon subjugation orders, Lu Song had heard of family forces being infiltrated by robbers allying with cultivators and using disguises to breach through internal defenses to pillage. After all, cultivation families were protected by great formations, and unless there were internal issues, they were hard to break through in a short amount of time. And robber cultivators typically value speed in their battles and do not dare to engage with other family forces for too long. If unable to break through the Great Formation, they would retreat immediately. We understand. The patrolling station cultivators nodded in agreement. They all knew the cultivation world had not been very stable these years. Meanwhile, the 3 Foundation Establishment cultivators who had just engaged in battle halted their fight upon entering a dense forest. It seems White Tiger Mountain is still guarded only by a second-order monster beast. Not bad. Our probing has shown that no Foundation Establishment cultivators from White Tiger Mountain appeared, It seems the situation is the same as before. Now that this is settled, shall we proceed with the next step? The three looked at each other and spoke. Their recent actions were naturally a probe against White Tiger Mountain, to see if White Tiger Mountain was indeed only guarded by a second-order spiritual beast, as their intel suggested. If it truly was only the beast, they would not hesitate to make their move. Moreover, if they managed to infiltrate White Tiger Mountain with a Foundation establishment cultivator, they could easily breach the mountain protection array from within and without. Chapter 1038. 3 million sword cultivators in the world must lower their eyes when they see me. Chapter 1038. Chapter 367. 3 million sword cultivators in the world must lower their eyes when they see me. Lu Qingsong returned to White Tiger Peak. A young man with a firm and robust appearance approached him, asking, "Qingsong, what's the situation?" "Big brother." As soon as he saw the young man, Lu Qingsong called out and then said, "It should just be a passing Foundation establishment cultivator, but we can't rule out the possibility of a disguise by a robber cultivator." Let me know immediately if there's anything." Lu Pingon nodded. White Tiger Mountain is guarded by the 9 Netherhound, and whenever there's trouble, it's Lu Qingsong who handles it with the 9 Netherhound. Thus, no one yet knows his true strength. Having just witnessed this, knowing that Lu Qingsong could handle it, he simply observed from the sidelines without intervening immediately. "Don't worry, big brother." Lu Qingsong smiled, aware of his big brother's generous nature. He had been devoted to cultivation at White Tiger Mountain for years and never involved himself in affairs. However, he always expressed concern at the first sign of trouble, asking if help was needed. Boom, boom, boom. As the two chatted, just as they were preparing to return and rest, they suddenly heard a series of loud booms. They saw the second-order great formation of White Tiger Mountain surge with spiritual light, flickering uncertainly in the night. This magic aura, it's those three from earlier." Lu Pingon looked towards the mountain gate and sensed through the magic aura that it was those three. It appears those three are unquestionably robber cultivators. Lu Qingsong's expression chilled as he gravely surmised what was happening. The three had pretended to be actors, undoubtedly aiming to infiltrate White Tiger Mountain or to test its defenses. Confirming that the mountain was guarded only by a second-order spiritual beast, they now took aggressive action. After all, although a second-order spiritual beast is powerful, it cannot control the Great Formation. Without a Foundation establishment cultivator to control it, the formation's offensive and defensive capabilities are both reduced by a grade. Over these years, the reason other family forces haven't interfered with White Tiger Mountain, besides the 9 Netherhound, is entirely because of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Should White Tiger Mountain face danger, not only the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, but also nearby forces like Tai Mulim Mo family and Xishaning family could immediately come to aid. The brothers hurried towards the mountain gate, but they saw those 3 robber cultivators currently attacking the White Tiger Mountain array. The 3 were clearly well prepared. Not only did they have a prohibition-breaking artifact as large as a hill bombarding White Tiger Mountain, but they also had prepared a prohibition-breaking talisman. Under such an attack, the array's mist dissipated and its spiritual light dimmed. "Big brother, it seems you need to take action now." Seeing this scene, Lu Qingsong's expression became grave, aware that these people were well prepared and that defeating them wouldn't be so simple. Thus, he planned to have Lu Pingon act with the 9 Netherhound. "Okay, leave it to me." Lu Pingon responded gravely, his energy slowly revitalizing within him. "Big brother, be careful. I will use the formation to support you." Lu Qingsong continued. He knew that his big brother had already broken through the Foundation. However, he was unsure of his exact combat strength. So, he thought of having his big brother lead the 9 Netherhound while he controlled the formation to make the 3 retreat. No need for that. Lu Pingon shook his head, swiftly moving to a courtyard where a dark golden great bow appeared in his hands. He then focused his gaze outside the formation at the Foundation establishment cultivator controlling the great mountain magical artifact, raising his hand, pulling the bowstring. Big brother? Lu Qingsong, seeing this, didn't understand what his big brother intended to do. Was he really planning to shoot the Foundation from here? How is that possible? But in the next moment, he was startled by the overwhelming spiritual pressure emanating from his big brother. Lu Pingon seemed to become one with the dark golden great bow, like the womb of a bow. His heart pumped like the drumbeat of a god or demon, thumping rhythmically and bursting with boundless vital energy, slowly forming a golden divine arrow crackling with thunder and lightning on the bowstring without an arrow. Buzz, buzz, buzz! As the golden divine arrow formed, Lu Pingan's right arm seemed to thunder and lightning with intense disturbances. Qingsong, at a direction of 63 degrees to the southeast of the formation, slightly opened a gap in the great array. Holding the dark golden great bow, Lu Pingon, striking as a blazing sun, spoke solemnly. Okay. Hearing this, Lu Qingsong, looking at Lu Pingon before him, swallowed nervously, brought out the array plate and called out, "Big brother ready. Open." Buzz! Instantly, with a surge of wind and thunder, a rainbow-like golden lightning streak pierced through the void, shooting out rapidly. Not good. Be careful. Outside the mountain gate, the 3 Foundation establishment cultivators attacking the array saw a golden arrow burst through White Tiger Mountain, all of them shocked, feeling a palpable chill. Boom, boom, boom. The cultivator controlling the great mountain magical artifact saw the rolling thunder and golden feathered arrow directly targeting him, immediately cried out in horror, quickly retreating as layers of protective aura formed around him. But the layers of protective aura shattered in an instant, and his entire head exploded like a watermelon under the golden thunderous arrow. Lu Qingsong, seeing this, was completely stunned, totally baffled. He actually shot and killed the Foundation cultivator, and with a single arrow. His big brother had just broken through Foundation establishment a few years ago, hadn't he? How did he possess such formidable power? He was utterly baffled, feeling as if in a dreamlike state. Not just him, the patrolling cultivators of White Tiger Mountain, the 2 robber cultivators outside the gate, all wore expressions of shock and amazement, wondering what was happening. How did an arrow suddenly appear and kill a Foundation cultivator? Was it a talisman treasure, or some exotic treasure? Second, magic. This is the magic aura. White Tiger Mountain has a great cultivator of the Foundation establishment late stage. Go, let's leave now. Chapter 1039. There are 3 million sword cultivators in the world, but they must all lower their brows when they see me. Chapter 1039. Chapter 367. There are 3 million sword cultivators in the world, but they must all lower their brows when they see me. The remaining 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, seeing this, dared not hesitate, and quickly transformed into escape lights to flee, fearing another golden arrow would be shot at them. Although they had a purpose for this trip, their main goal was still wealth, and they couldn't possibly sacrifice their lives here. Seeing the remaining 2 in a panic-stricken flight, Lu Pingon let out a long breath and put away the dark gold bow. The arrow he had just shot had been the condensation of the thunderstorm ring technique and magical powers mastered from elder ancestor of the Su family. It endowed his attack with the force of wind and lightning. This was his first time using it in real combat, and its power proved quite effective. Not only could he fend off the enemy, but he also didn't need to reveal his own strength. Big brother. Lu Qingsong was still dumbfounded as he looked at his elder brother. To be within White Tiger Mountain, yet a single arrow shot from such a distance had killed a Foundation establishment cultivator. He simply couldn't comprehend such strength. Before my breakthrough to Foundation establishment, I encountered some serendipity. My body refinement has already broken through to the 2nd level, so my strength is a bit stronger than an average Foundation establishment cultivator, Lu Pingon said gently to his younger brother as he smiled and explained. Second-level body refinement. Stronger than an average foundation establishment cultivator by several points. Lu Qingsong, upon hearing such words, didn't know what to say for a moment. He understood second-level body refinement, but he couldn't grasp how one arrow could kill a foundation establishment cultivator. After all, being only slightly stronger than another cultivator, it would be quite difficult to kill them, let alone instantly. Even though his older brother's arrow, just now, had an element of surprise, such strength couldn't simply be explained by being several points stronger. Lu Qingsong didn't continue to press Lu Ping'an for details, but took a deep breath, nodded and said, "Good. With you, big brother, holding down White Tiger Mountain, I can rest easy in the future." At this moment, he understood why their father had assigned his older brother to hold down White Tiger Mountain. Because their father had always been clear about Lu Ping'an's strength. With him there, White Tiger Mountain could indeed rest easy. "Big brother, he'll go handle the situation." Lu Qingsong continued, quickly stepping forward to manage the situation at the mountain gate. He didn't explain whether it was him or someone else who had acted just now. The unknown is fearsome, incalculable might. Often, the unknown methods are more daunting. He had the 9 Netherhound bring back the outside bodies of the Foundation establishment cultivators, took their magic artifacts and storage bags, then with a cold and authoritative air, ordered one person, hang this corpse outside the mountain gate, and tell others that if any robber cultivator dares to attack White Tiger Mountain, they will meet the same fate. Yes, Mountain Master. White Tiger Mountain had not only the cultivators from the Zhao family of yesteryears, but also those from Tai Mulim Mo family and the Ning family of Shi Mountain. The incident just now had filled them all with dread. The 2 Foundation establishment robber cultivators had been able to sense a trace of Foundation establishment mana from the arrow. These people were merely energy-refining cultivators. They couldn't be certain whether it was someone's direct action or some treasure involved. And with no Foundation establishment cultivator sitting in White Tiger Mountain, with Mountain Master Lu Qingsong having just disappeared, they speculated that Lu Qingsong must possess some exotic treasure. After all, Lu Qingsong's father, Lu Changsheng, was considered a legendary figure. He dared to have a son in the Qi refinement realm hold down and control White Tiger Mountain. How could he possibly not provide him with an ace up his sleeve? News of the events at White Tiger Mountain spread to the surrounding family forces the next day. Everyone who heard this news was utterly shocked. Indeed, to kill a Foundation establishment cultivator with a single arrow was terrifying. Who wouldn't be fearful upon hearing of such means? Several families friendly with by Lake Mountain and White Tiger Mountain even sent people under the guise of a visit to check the situation at White Tiger Mountain. When they saw the headless corpse hanging outside the mountain gate and confirmed it was a Foundation establishment cultivator, they were all internally shaken. They conjectured wildly about what sort of methods Lu Changsheng had hidden in White Tiger Mountain. Meanwhile, at Jinlong Ridge Jin family, quite the White Tiger Mountain, quite the Lu Changsheng, truly well hidden. The patriarch of Jin family looked at the information in his hand, his expression slightly condensed. Those 3 robber cultivators that appeared on White Tiger Mountain last night obviously didn't go there for no reason to plunder. It was he who wanted a test by Lake Mountain, had someone issue a bounty task, provided prohibition-breaking talismans and forbidden technique artifacts that resulted in 3 robber cultivators willing to make a move against White Tiger Mountain. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, robber cultivators wouldn't expend great cost to forcefully attack a certain family. Unless that family possessed some kind of fortuitous treasure and lacked a Foundation establishment cultivator in charge. The patriarch of Jin family didn't hesitate and went straight to report this news to the elder ancestor of his family. At by Lake Mountain, 3 robber cultivators killed by a single arrow. Lu Changsheng looked at the information coming from White Tiger Mountain and chuckled. Others might not know what happened, but he as the father was crystal clear. After all, the means Lu Ping'an used were all given to him by his father. With Pingan holding down White Tiger Mountain, unless a false core took action, there shouldn't be any danger. Lu Changsheng exhaled softly. However, even though that was what he said, after such an incident at White Tiger Mountain, he still made a trip outside to check on the situation. Moreover, this sudden attack by 3 robber cultivators also made him speculate whether it had something to do with other powers. Especially since the demon subjugation order had just concluded, it would be unlikely for any robber cultivators to show up and cause trouble at this time. In Yu Country, Jinyang Sect, Qing Shan, how confident are you in this journey to Heavenly Sword Sect to ask for a sword duel? Tian Yuan, true immortal, dressed in a grand red robe, her figure voluptuous and charming, took a delicate sip from the wine gourd in her hand, her face slightly flushed, and lazily said, "Back when the Purple Shadow secret realm ended, Lu Qingshan promised Yujin Jinren of the Heavenly Sword Sect to visit for a sword duel within 10 years. Now, with only 1 year left of the decade-long promise, she was preparing to send Lu Qingshan to the Heavenly Sword Sect for the duel. Lu Qingshan, with a handsome face and piercing eyes, listened to his master's words, his expression serene and confidently said, "Among the 3 million sword cultivators in the world, all must lower their gazes upon seeing me." Tian Yuan, true immortal, was speechless upon hearing her disciple's words. After a while, she finally spoke, "Say these words in front of me if you like, but if you speak them at the Heavenly Sword Sect, I won't be able to protect you." "Aha! Isn't this just showing that I'm confident and assured?" Lu Qingshan smiled and replied, "While it's a sword duel, Yujin Jinren intends to use you to hone his sect's disciples. When we get to the Heavenly Sword Sect, keep the actual dueling separate and remember to be somewhat mindful." Tian Yuan, true immortal, spoke earnestly, revealing a bit of a serious expression as she instructed her disciple. This trip to the Heavenly Sword Sect was a great chance for her disciple to be tempered. But she knew well the nature of her disciple, reckless to the extreme. And the sword cultivators of the Heavenly Sword Sect wouldn't be much different. If this disciple gave no face to the Heavenly Sword Sect disciples during the duels, it could easily cause trouble. "Don't worry, Master. I understand. Friendship first, dueling second." Lu Qingshan might be proud, but he wasn't foolish and comprehended what was at stake. His trip to the Heavenly Sword Sect was primarily for sparring and exchange, so of course, he had to keep the host's dignity in mind. If the sparring ended up insulting the hosts, it would be tantamount to slapping the face of the Heavenly Sword Sect, and things wouldn't end well after. Even if the Heavenly Sword Sect didn't say anything outright, it would still be like making a formidable enemy. "Since you understand, I won't say much more." Tian Yuan, true immortal, nodded, instructing Lu Qingshan to say his goodbyes to Lu Qingzhu before heading to the Heavenly Sword Sect. However, Lu Qingshan suggested that since his sister was bored alone in the sect, it would be better to go together to broaden her horizons. Hearing this, Tian Yuan, true immortal, said it was fine as long as Lu Qingzhu was willing, and subsequently took the siblings to the Heavenly Sword Sect. Chapter 1040. Questioning the Sword at Heavenly Sword Sect. Chapter 1040. Chapter 368. Questioning the Sword at Heavenly Sword Sect. Lu Changsheng arrived at White Tiger Mountain and saw the headless corpse hanging at the mountain gate. He thought to himself, his son's actions were truly domineering and aggressive. Foundation establishment cultivators are prominent figures wherever they go, akin to the old ancestors of a region. Such figures were now hanging as bodies on display, serving as a form of intimidation. However, although this act was inconsistent with his usual behavior, he wouldn't say anything about it. "Father." Hearing of Lu Changsheng's arrival, Lu Qingsong immediately notified his older brother Lu Pingan, seventh brother Lu Xianji, and others to come to greet him. Lu Changsheng looked at his children and gave a slight nod, briefly inquiring about the events of the previous night and the matters regarding the robber cultivators. Learning that the three robber cultivators had come prepared, but were unlike the local Family Forces Foundation establishment cultivators and had no suspicious items on them, Lu Changsheng did not probe further. He merely instructed them to be more careful and vigilant in their daily routines. Afterward, he checked on the well-being of his other children and accompanied Lu Xianxia and a few others to visit the puppet workshop and the artifact refining workshop. Seeing that there were no issues, Lu Changsheng then returned to Bai Lake Mountain. At this time, the news from White Tiger Mountain had also reached the ears of his wives and children at home. Like Lu Miaohuan, because her son Lu Qingsong was in charge at White Tiger Mountain, even knowing that there was no trouble, she sought out Lu Changsheng at the first opportunity to ask about the situation. Lu Changsheng embraced his wife's slender waist, indicating that their son Lu Qingsong was fine. He also praised his son for his excellent performance, managing White Tiger Mountain in perfect order. It might be the pressure from his brother Lu Qingshan, or perhaps the desire to make his mother proud. But Lu Qingsong had indeed worked hard and performed well over the years. Otherwise, if he had not been capable, despite the connections through Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan, Lu Changsheng would have replaced him at White Tiger Mountain long ago. Dad, what is this treasure that can kill a Foundation establishment with a single arrow? Give me one. Lu Wangshu, upon hearing the news, thought it might be some talisman or treasure and pleaded with her father with a flattering face. Her own father was incredibly wealthy, often able to produce some treasures she had never seen before, and she could never have too many treasures. This is something your big brother achieved through his own true skill. Lu Changsheng glanced at his daughter and spoke. Pingan has only recently broken through to Foundation establishment, so how could he kill a Foundation establishment with a single arrow? Lu Miaohuan and the others were surprised to hear this. Their main impression of Lu Pingan was still from the years when he had just broken through to Foundation establishment. They had not expected that Lu Pingan, soon after his breakthrough, would be capable of killing a Foundation establishment cultivator. This was quite astonishing. Pingan has several magic artifacts from me. His combat power is above average for Foundation establishment cultivators. Lu Changsheng didn't want to explain his spoilt son's actions and Lu Pingan's fortuitous encounters, so he kept it simple. After speaking, he looked at his daughter Lu Wangshu and said, "Train diligently, and when you break through to Foundation establishment, your father has also prepared something for you." Lu Wangshu had broken through to the 9th level energy refinement half a year ago. She was estimated to be able to attempt Foundation establishment in another 4 to 5 years. Dad, rest assured, I will strive to achieve Foundation establishment as soon as possible. Lu Wangshu had taken the preserving youth pill and still looked to be 17 or 18 years old, with a bright, pure face. Hearing this, Lu Miaohuan and the others did not continue to ask further questions. After all, their husband's treasures were indeed too numerous. With the means provided by Lu Changsheng, killing a Foundation establishment with a single arrow was conceivable. Like Lu Miaohuan, she also gave the vermilion bird ring, a talisman treasure given to her by Lu Changsheng, for her son Lu Qingsong to carry with him. Husband, when Qingshan said he would visit Heavenly Sword Sect to challenge their swordsmanship after Foundation establishment, why haven't we heard any news about this for so many years? At this moment, Lu Miaohuan thought of her eldest son, Lu Qingshan, and asked Lu Changsheng. Qingshan may be busy with other matters. I have had people pay attention to news from the Heavenly Sword Sect. As long as Qingshan goes to the Heavenly Sword Sect for a sword contest, making a disturbance, news will come back. Lu Changsheng responded in a gentle voice. He had previously heard from Lu Qingshan that not only did he intend to participate in the 5-sect competition for Jinyang sect in your country, but he also planned to enter the Qingming secret realm. So many years had passed, and his son must have completed those activities. However, judging by Lu Qingshan's cultivation level, having only reached the 2nd level of Foundation establishment, Lu Changsheng guessed his son hadn't obtained any significant opportunities. Of course, it's also possible that after Lu Qingshan's foundation establishment, he spent much of his time on techniques or other aspects. Heavenly Sword Sect. As the overlord of Jiang country, the only nascent soul-level power, with a fourth-order spirit vein, the Heavenly Sword Sect naturally exuded an imposing grandeur. Among the continuous majestic mountains stood peaks as straight and tall as swords reaching for the skies. Some of these mountain peaks were lush with greenery and full of spiritual medicine. Some were shrouded in mist with pavilions and palaces built upon them, and some had waterfalls flowing like silver dragons, magnificent and awe-inspiring. In the central position stood a peak like a divine sword, seeming to pierce through the heavens, invoking fear in onlookers and making them feel their own insignificance. Whoosh! A divine rainbow with tremendous spiritual pressure descended outside the Heavenly Sword Sect. As the rosy light faded, a giant gourd appeared with a woman in her 30s, stunningly beautiful and dressed in a luxurious red gown, standing on it. Next to her was a young man with sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes with handsome features, along with a gentle and elegant young lady. Is this the Heavenly Sword Sect? The three people on the gourd were none other than Tianyuan True Immortal, who had come to challenge the Heavenly Sword Sect, along with Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingshan looked at Heavenly Sword Sect before him, his eyes bright with a warlike spirit. He was naturally well aware of the big name of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Even as a child, he had once dreamed of joining the Heavenly Sword Sect. Heavenly Sword Sect. Lu Qingzhu also observed Jiang country's #1 immortal sect, continually assessing it. May I know what brings the true immortal here today? Chapter 1041. Questioning the Heavenly Sword Sect. Chapter 1041. Chapter 368. Questioning the Heavenly Sword Sect. The disciple stationed at the gate of the Heavenly Sword Sect saw Tian Yuan approaching with two others and immediately spoke respectfully. Tian Yuan, True Immortal, did not speak. Such ordinary station disciples were not qualified to converse with her. Soon after, a sword light shot out from the Heavenly Sword Sect, revealing a middle-aged man in his 30s with a majestic demeanor. Upon seeing Tian Yuan, he clasped his hands together and bowed. May I know the purpose of Tian Yuan True Immortal's visit to our Heavenly Sword Sect? I have met True Person Huangjian. Unlike her usual carefree demeanor, Tian Yuan held an air of nobility and authority, slightly bowing her hands. She then spoke aloud. I am here at the invitation of Yujin Jinren to bring my disciple Lu Qingshan to inquire about the sword. Inquire about the sword. Upon hearing this, True Person Huangjian immediately turned his attention to Lu Qingshan on the gourd. As a sword cultivator, true monarch, he could tell at a glance that Lu Qingshan was a sword cultivator. His entire being radiated a sharp edge, a sword intent that could shake the heavens. What a promising sword Dao talent! True Person Huangjian exclaimed in praise. Among sword cultivators, one could often gauge the depth of another's ability through their aura and sword intent. A sword Dao talent like Lu Qingshan was like a torch in the night, obviously not ordinary at first glance. No wonder he was invited to inquire about the sword. Tian Yuan True Immortal. Please wait a moment. I will inform my brother Yujian to make arrangements for the young friend. True Person Huangjian spoke. For those who came to inquire about the sword, their Heavenly Sword Sect always took it seriously. After all, those daring enough to challenge the Heavenly Sword Sect, and those invited to do so, were all top-tier talents. Therefore, facing such an inquiry about the sword, their Heavenly Sword Sect needed to prepare slightly. They couldn't just randomly send a few disciples to spar. Before long, a cold-looking youth of about 15 or 16 came over. It was Yujin Jinren from the Purple Shadow Secret Realm days. After a brief greeting with Tian Yuan, he looked at Lu Qingshan and said, It seems, young friend Qingshan, that your mastery of the sword Dao has progressed greatly these past years. He could tell that Lu Qingshan's sword intent was not only sharper, but also carried an aura of unmatched dominance. This was an attitude he was very familiar with, the kind fostered by continually victorious battles. Young Lu Qingshan, greeting Yu Jianjinren. Lu Qingshan clasped his hands and bowed. Since the other had waived his obligation to contribute spiritual medicine back then, his impression of this Yu Jianjinren was quite positive. Tian Yuan, true immortal. Young Qingshan, you both should settle down first and rest well. The matter of sword inquiry will be arranged to start in 7 days. Yu Jianjinren led the three to a mountain courtyard within the Heavenly Sword sect. Many thanks, true lord. Lu Qingshan clasped his hands in thanks. After settling Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu, Tian Yuan turned to Yu Jianjinren and said, Yu Jianjinren, for this sword inquiry, I hope your sect does not hold back. Normally, being a mentor, one should be very pleased with an excellent disciple. Previously, Tian Yuan indeed felt this way, growing more and more satisfied with her disciple Lu Qingshan. However, following the events of the Purple Shadow Secret Realm, the 5 Sects Tournament, and the Qingming Secret Realm, Tian Yuan noticed a problematic aspect in her disciple's character. Too arrogant and proud. This arrogance was not reckless and wild, but was a deep-rooted pride and arrogance. He believed he was unbeaten among his peers and was confident of his invincibility in the future. Nothing in the world could make him shrink back or fear. This was a trait seen in many talents, but it was particularly pronounced in Lu Qingshan. Tian Yuan deeply realized that this character trait would lead to severe setbacks in the future. And when setbacks came, they could cause substantial losses, possibly even the loss of life and cessation of his Tao. After all, divine skills are no match for fate. Not to say just a foundation establishment cultivator. Even nascent soul immortals and core formation true lords could perish by mischance. Lu Qingshan was merely at the foundation establishment level. His cultivation path had just begun, and he still had countless hardships and dangers to face ahead. Thus, on this trip to the Heavenly Sword sect, while she outwardly told Lu Qingshan to tread carefully, internally, she had already planned for the Heavenly Sword sect to let her disciple face some setbacks to temper his character. Not to walk around daily with an air of invincibility, disregarding others entirely. Being proud is quite normal for a talent. Please rest assured, Tian Yuan, true immortal. Yu Jianjinren naturally understood Tian Yuan's intention. Which young talent wasn't overwhelmingly arrogant? Especially sword cultivators, who value resolute heart and a spirit of invincibility, are even more so on this matter. He invited Lu Qingshan to the Heavenly Sword sect for a sword inquiry, also thinking of using the opportunity to temper his own disciples, to know there are others above them. When they leave the sect in the future, to maintain a measure of caution and reverence towards other cultivators. I appreciate your troubles, Yu Jianjinren. Tian Yuan spoke earnestly. Her own disciple truly had exceptional talent. But she respected and acknowledged the nascent soul-level sword cultivation sect of the Heavenly Sword sect, knowing its profound heritage. She had even heard that this generation in the Heavenly Sword sect had produced a prodigy with the supreme sword bone. Yu Jianjinren glanced at Lu Qingshan, who was laughing and playing with his sister Lu Qingzhu in the distance. He thought the lad, though possessed of an overwhelming sword intent and an aura of invincibility, seemed to have a good temperament, not someone arrogant or disdainful. He mused that Tian Yuan, although a true pill master, still did not quite understand sword cultivators. 7 days later, Heavenly Sword Sect, Sword Inquiry Platform. Under the arrangements of Yu Jianjinren, the affair of Lu Qingshan's sword inquiry was made known to the Heavenly Sword Sect, and many disciples came to watch. After all, sword inquiring was a hallmark of the Heavenly Sword Sect. It occurred almost every few years, and during these times, core formation true lords would come to watch the sword play. Those who performed well during the event might also receive awards afterward. Chapter 1042, Questioning Sword at the Heavenly Sword Sect. Chapter 1042, Chapter 368, Questioning Sword at the Heavenly Sword Sect. Not to be underestimated, the Heavenly Sword Sect indeed stands out. Lu Qingshan beheld the sight before him. Disciples of the Heavenly Sword Sect dressed in white sword robes, and couldn't help but voice his admiration. The Heavenly Sword Sect was unlike other sections. All disciples were sword cultivators, practicing sword techniques. It was fine when in groups of 3 or 5, or even more than 10. But now, with hundreds of sword cultivators gathered, each with a sharp and pointed aura, the feeling was different. "Brother, you can do it!" Lu Qingzhu cheered for her own brother. Although in the eyes of Tianyuan true immortal, Lu Qingshan was extremely proud and looked down on others. In Lu Qingzhu's eyes, her own brother was the best in the world. Even when she heard others say her brother was arrogant, she felt it was only natural for her brother to be so impressive. His progress in cultivation was lightning fast, and he could master any sword technique or spell after a single practice. Wasn't a bit of arrogance to be expected? Ha ha ha. Watch your brother's performance. Lu Qingshan habitually ruffled his sister's hair and grinned. "Qingshan, remember the words your master told you." Tianyuan, true immortal, instructed his disciple. "Master, rest assured." Lu Qingshan knew his master was telling him not to kill with a single sword stroke right away, to give others some face. He stood on the sword inquiry platform, tall and noble, and bowed to the crowd below. Jinyang Sect's Lu Qingshan has come to inquire about swordsmanship at the Heavenly Sword Sect today, seeking guidance from all the Taoists here. When he finished speaking, a golden magical sword appeared in his hand, his whole body enveloped in a soaring sword intent, as if he could tear the sky asunder, shifting the sun and the moon, an unstoppable force. Show, what astonishing sword intent! What kind of sword intent is this? Jinyang Sect's Lu Qingshan. I've heard of this man. He won first place in the sword trial of the 5 great immortal sects of Yu country 6 years ago. It's him, the sword cultivator from the Purple Shadow, Secret Realm. Didn't expect this person to actually come to our Heavenly Sword Sect to inquire about swordsmanship. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword Sect looked at Lu Qingshan on the sword inquiry platform and immediately stirred up discussions. This young man has such an impressive sword intent. To have nurtured such sword intent at a young age, his talent in the sword Dao is truly extraordinary. Several true immortals from the Heavenly Sword Sect came to watch the duel, looking at Lu Qingshan on the platform and commenting. They all understood why Yu Jinjinren had invited Lu Qingshan to come and inquire about swordsmanship. "Wu Jiao, please enlighten Taoist Lu." Instantly, a figure about 30 years old leaped onto the platform and said coldly to Lu Qingshan, "Didn't expect senior brother Wu to take the stage so soon." This Lu Qingshan managed to win first place in the grand competition of the 5 sects of Yu country. Quite extraordinary. Indeed, if one didn't have real ability and went up, it would only result in humiliation. Immediately, disciples spoke up, indicating that this Wu Jiao was quite formidable. "Please." Lu Qingshan, dressed in the Jinyang Sect disciples' attire, tall and straight, made a welcoming gesture. Wu Jiao did not stand on ceremony and sacrificed a sword bead against Lu Qingshan. This sword inquiry appeared informal, but with several nascent soul immortals observing, there was no concern for unexpected events during the process. Clang, clang, clang. Facing the incoming sword bead, Lu Qingshan was calm and composed, his magical sword slashing out beams of sword light. Sword light clashed with sword bead, sparks flying. Such a sharp sword chi. Wu Jiao felt his own life-bound sword pellet tremble faintly after just exchanging blows and was shocked. He didn't dare to hesitate and immediately made a gesture incantation, attacking with all his might. But Lu Qingshan still stood unshaken, waving his magical sword and casually neutralizing his opponent's attack. Moments later, Lu Qingshan unleashed a streak of sword light that slashed out like a meteor colliding with the sun, causing the sword bead to fly backward. Wu Jio's face instantly turned pale, and he staggered. "It is so strong." Junior brother Wu Jio had just given his all, yet he failed to even shake him in the slightest. The disciples of Heavenly Sword sect below were astonished. "My gratitude." Lu Qingshan looked at Wu Jio and slightly bowed with his hands clasped. "I've lost." Wu Jio took a deep breath, recognizing that his power was not on the same level as his opponents. As he stepped down from the platform, a slender young man approached the Sword Inquiry platform. "Luo Yijian, please advise." "It's junior brother Luo. Although he's only at the 3rd level of Foundation establishment, his divine sense is incredibly strong. The myriad sword art he cultivated can manipulate 36 flying swords. I heard that senior brother Luo once used those 36 flying swords to kill a demon cultivator at the middle stage of Foundation establishment." Upon hearing these discussions, Lu Qingshan's eyebrows rose slightly, his expression calm, as he made a welcoming gesture. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Luo Yijian didn't stand on ceremony. Slapping his storage bag, a row of 3-inch flying swords poured out, exploding with 7 colored sword lights: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, hurtling towards Lu Qingshan. Although most of the flying swords were only magic artifacts, their might was nevertheless astonishing. Nicely done. As Lu Qingshan watched this scene, the magical sword in his hand swung, creating layers of sword chi swirling all around him like a vortex-shaped shield, enveloping his body and constantly flowing, causing the sharp sword chi to undulate against each other. Clang, clang, clang. One after another, the flying sword struck at Lu Qingshan, clashing against his sword chi shield, creating a series of crisp sounds and sparks flying in all directions. Then, threads of sword chi around Lu Qingshan, like small serpents, entwined and attacked the flying swords, causing constant metallic clangs, which gradually dimmed the flying swords in the process. "I've lost." Luo Yijian, seeing this, knew that if his opponent had not been lenient, his flying swords would have likely been cut in two. What about senior brother Luo's sword array? Why didn't I see him use it? With this Lu Qingshan's ability to manifest sword chi, under his sword chi, junior brother Luo's sword array simply can't take form. Sword energy formation. Wasn't he just at the initial stage of Foundation establishment? Very well, sword energy formation. Interesting. I shall meet you. The Heavenly Sword sect disciples in the arena were abuzz with discussion, and instantly another challenger took the stage. It's senior brother Zhao. This should be stable now. However, Lu Qingshan is only at the initial stage of Foundation establishment. Senior brother Zhao has long broken through to the middle stage. Even if he wins, it wouldn't be a respectful victory. Since it's a sword inquiry, senior brother Zhao will naturally suppress his mana to the initial stage of Foundation establishment. Watching the middle-aged man who stepped onto the platform, more voices rose from below. This middle-aged man, unlike the previous two, wielded a magical sword with wide and forceful swings, aggressive and domineering. But after a few evenly matched exchanges at the start, Lu Qingshan's offense grew increasingly fierce, making it difficult for senior brother Zhao to fend off, forcing him to use his mid-stage Foundation establishment power and admit defeat. For a moment, the disciples of Heavenly Sword sect also began to sense something amiss. They realized that Lu Qingshan was intentionally engaging each person for a few exchanges before really making a move to defeat them. Otherwise, with the capability to defeat senior brother Zhao like that, the earlier Wu Jio and Luo Yijian probably couldn't have withstood a few of Lu Qingshan's strikes. Faced with this situation, some were astonished at Lu Qingshan's strength, while others felt slighted, as if they were looked down upon. It seems I have underestimated this young man. Yujin Jinren watched Lu Qingshan on the Sword Inquiry platform and suddenly understood why Tianyuan True Immortal had told his Heavenly Sword sect not to hold back. Because with Lu Qingshan's level of ability, their ordinary disciples were truly not his match. Immediately, he transmitted a message to a disciple, Han Jing, suppress your cultivation level to the initial stage of foundation establishment and try with Lu Qingshan. He continued to transmit messages, ordering people to summon several nascent soul seed disciples from the sect. Chapter 1043, Divine Power Fruit, Cultivation of the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Chapter 1043. Chapter 369, Divine Power Fruit, Cultivation of the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Yes, Martial Uncle. The youth called Han Jing nodded. He exuded a cold and sharp aura as he stepped onto the Sword Inquiry platform and bowed towards Lu Qingshan, saying, Han Jing seeks your advice. What? Brother Han Jing has taken the stage already. When junior brother Han Jing made his breakthrough to Foundation Establishment, he had already grasped the second realm of Sword Dao, Sword Energy Formation, and now, at the middle stage of Foundation Establishment, he has already touched upon the third realm of Sword Dao, Sword Energy, Thunder Sound. Among his peers, there are few enemies, and even if he suppresses his cultivation to the early stage of Foundation Establishment, it still seems a bit like bullying. Yes, with Brother Han so quickly entering the fray. Even if we win, it seems like our Heavenly Sword sect is winning without honor. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect buzzed with conversation and showed their confusion at seeing Han Jing take the stage. There was an unspoken rule in sword inquiries. That is, those who took the stage for the sword inquiry would go from weakest to strongest. Like Han Jing, he was a name that mattered within the Heavenly Sword sect. Once he took the stage, many disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect felt they had no chance at all to dispute swords with Lu Qingshan. Please impart your knowledge. Lu Qingshan looked at the imposing Han Jing in front of him, nodded slightly, and a hint of seriousness showed in his eyes. The two began to cross swords. Han Jing, compared to the previous three, was clearly on a whole different level. He produced a finely crafted tiny sword only inches in length, causing the Sword Inquiry platform to suddenly burst with a sharp and biting aura, so intense it was difficult to face directly. Then, like an oncoming tide, domineering sword qi rolled towards Lu Qingshan, accompanied by bursts of thunderous noise, sounding as though it was calling for 1,000 cuts. Lu Qingshan, meanwhile, held a golden magical sword, his sword qi like a galaxy or a brilliant sun, swallowing the stars, vast and unending. Sword Energy Thunder Sound. Brother Han Jing has mastered the Sword Energy Thunder Sound. Wait, this Lu Qingshan has mastered Sword Energy Thunder Sound too. This person has only just broken through Foundation Establishment a few years ago, and he has already mastered Sword Energy Thunder Sound. Such Sword Dao talent is simply astonishing. If Lu Qingshan were part of our Heavenly Sword sect, I reckon he would have been at the level of Sword Sun. No wonder Brother Han went straight to the stage. It turns out that he had seen all along that Lu Qingshan was no ordinary individual, never using his full strength. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as they watched the two fight on the Sword Inquiry platform. Indeed, there were many cultivators who came to the Heavenly Sword sect for sword inquiries. But one with such extraordinary talent like Lu Qingshan was indeed rare. Clang, clang, clang. On the Sword Inquiry platform, the two continued to exchange blows. Ultimately, faced with Lu Qingshan's relentless offense, Han Jing, employing the mana of his middle stage of Foundation Establishment, could only concede defeat. This, Brother Han lost. How is this possible? That Lu Qingshan, such a swordsman, and he's not from our Heavenly Sword sect. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect watched Han Jing concede, all somewhat incredulous. It must be known, in Jiang country, their Heavenly Sword sect was held in highest esteem among sword cultivators. Jinyang's sect was decent, but it was only a nascent soul-level power, and its Sword Dao was just one of its branches. Yet now, such a startlingly talented sword cultivator actually came from the Jinyang sect, which left them in disbelief. "Brother Han, our Sword Dao exchange is not yet over. Why worry about mana realms? You should fight with all your strength." At that moment, Lu Qingshan, looking at the conceding Han Jing, said this. He had gained a lot from the exchange, because although the Jinyang sect had sword techniques, there weren't many. Over the years, he had comprehended all of the Jinyang sect's sword techniques and learned them. Just now in their exchange, he had gained insight from his opponent's sword techniques and sword intent. He wanted to seize this opportunity to integrate all kinds of sword intent into his body, slowly forging his unique path within the Sword Dao. After all, no matter what sword techniques or methods are used, they're the Sword Dao of the predecessors, not one's own Sword Dao. Only one's own Sword Dao is the most suitable. What? He's actually telling Brother Han to not hold back because of mana realms. Junior Brother Han is at the 5th layer of Foundation establishment, and Lu Qingshan is but at the 2nd layer. If it were some talentless loose cultivator, a difference of one realm wouldn't matter, but among our Heavenly Sword sect disciples, who aren't all outstanding in their own realms, it's simply too disdainful not to take Brother Han seriously. Damn it, if our sect is beaten by this young man, where will our Heavenly Sword sect's face be? The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect below the stage were in an uproar after hearing this. Some were surprised, some sighed, and some were indignant. Very well. Han Jing, hearing this, his eyes slightly narrowing, his aura compelling, coldly responded. Losing to Lu Qingshan, he too felt choked up inside. He wanted to see just where the other's limit lay, and such a pure exchange in the Sword Dao was fruitful for him. In an instant, the two on the stage continued their fight. It seems that within the Heavenly Sword sect, of those of the same age and level, there are not many who can discipline Qingshan. Tian Yuan True Immortal watched the two on the Sword Inquiry platform and sighed inwardly. She had come to the Heavenly Sword sect hoping they could teach Lu Qingshan a lesson, to show him the vastness of the world. Such teaching must come through a strong and overwhelming defeat of Lu Qingshan. But now it seemed difficult for the Heavenly Sword sect to find such disciples. If during this sword inquiry no one can get him under control, won't he see others as nothing but chickens and dogs afterwards, people he could easily defeat? Tian Yuan, True Immortal, was concerned. She wondered if she should take Lu Qingshan out to experience the dangers of the cultivation world later on. It was easy to dodge an open spear but hard to guard against a hidden arrow. With such a temperament, what he most feared were hidden dangers. Tian Yuan, True Immortal, has accepted a fine disciple. At this time, Yu Jinjinren, watching the two on the Sword Inquiry platform, transmitted a message to Tian Yuan, True Immortal, somewhat emotional. He had invited Lu Qingshan to the Heavenly Sword sect for a sword inquiry, with the intention of using the other to sharpen his own disciples. Now the effect had been achieved, but if his disciples could not defeat Lu Qingshan, it would be somewhat embarrassing. Although he was confident that the disciples of his sect could bear down and defeat Lu Qingshan, if they could not win against Lu Qingshan being of the same age and level, it would ultimately be somewhat unsatisfying. Chapter 1044, Divine Power Fruit, Cultivating the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Chapter 1044, Chapter 369, Divine Power Fruit, Cultivating the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Incompetent disciple, you've embarrassed me. Tian Yuan, True Immortal, said so. Many would still covet to have such a disciple. Yu Jinjinren shook his head as he spoke. In the cultivation world, a genius disciple easily surpasses hundreds of mediocrities. For someone like Lu Qingshan, as long as he doesn't fall along the way, reaching core formation was virtually guaranteed. At the Sword Inquiry platform, as Han Jing no longer suppressed his mana cultivation level, Lu Qingshan was immediately overwhelmed with pressure. Yet, Han Jing wasn't just relying on his mana to pressurize others, but rather utilizing a variety of middle-stage foundation establishment techniques. Such sparring contests left many disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect in awe. In the end, Lu Qingshan won by a narrow margin. However, after the duel, due to substantial exhaustion, Lu Qingshan opted not to continue further battles. He declared he would continue the next day, and stated his current visit was to exchange sword Dao tips without worrying about realm mana, and thus, anybody at mid or even late stage of Foundation establishment could come up and duel. Even though Lu Qingshan was very modest in the duel today, not showing any arrogance, his words immediately incited annoyance in many disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect. They prepared to teach Lu Qingshan a lesson the next day on the Sword Inquiry platform, to show him the vastness of the sky and the breadth of the earth. Sigh. Watching the disciples on the platform, Tianyuan True, Immortal, shook his head and lamented, then turned to Lu Qingzhu beside him and said, "Qingzhu, talk to Qingshan later. Let him try to speak less during the sparring." Although whatever she told Lu Qingshan, he would nod in agreement, saying master is right. Lu Qingshan would take Lu Qingzhu's words more seriously. So over the years, Tianyuan True Immortal had realized that accepting both siblings as disciples had been a very right decision. Had only Lu Qingshan been taken as a disciple, this disciple's personality might have been much more aloof and arrogant. With Lu Qingzhu by his side, Lu Qingshan often paid more attention. This also sometimes worried her, fearing what might happen to Lu Qingshan if something were to happen to Lu Qingzhu. "Master, don't worry." Lu Qingzhu, with a serene and gentle demeanor, responded softly. She had watched the whole battle and was naturally aware that her brother's actions and words had irritated many disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect. Jinyang sect's Lu Qingshan, in his sword inquiry at Heavenly Sword sect, proved invincible among his peers. Only the Heavenly Sword sect's true inheritor, Unparalleled, matched Lu Qingshan evenly, neither gaining the upper hand. Before leaving, Lu Qingshan carved the character Lu on the Heavenly Sword stele at the Heavenly Sword sect, setting a date for another challenge. At Bai Lake Mountain, Lu Changsheng read the letter in his hands about his son, Lu Qingshan. The Heavenly Sword sect is the premier immortal sect in Jiang country, a nascent soul-level power, and Qingshan managed to remain unbeaten among peers there, even challenging those beyond his level. Tisk, truly worthy of being my son, Lu Changsheng. A faint smile appeared on Lu Changsheng's face. Every parent hopes for their sons to be successful and daughters to thrive. Lu Qingshan was a son on whom he had placed great expectations. With such achievements, he felt naturally proud as a father. He then looked further down the contents of the message, curious about this Unparalleled, who could match his son evenly. Unparalleled, a true inheritor of the Heavenly Sword sect, a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator endowed with supreme sword bone. Lu Changsheng was a little surprised upon reading this in the letter, because supreme sword bone was a top-level spiritual body. Lu Qingshan was able to match someone with such an attribute evenly, and that person was at the mid-stage of Foundation establishment. Though the cultivation level was suppressed to the initial stage, if both were at the initial stage of Foundation establishment, Lu Qingshan's chances of winning would likely be a bit higher. This means that the sword-charging bull's might effect is no less significant than such a spiritual body as the supreme sword bone. Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly as he stroked his chin. At this moment, he finally had a clear understanding of the effects of the seed of law he had obtained. Certainly, he had previously known that his son was formidable but lacked a concrete concept. Now, through this sword inquiry at the Heavenly Sword sect, by comparison, he knew his son, Lu Qingshan, was not the least bit weaker than someone with a top-level spiritual body, and was even a bit more formidable. However, the astonishing effects of this seed of law on Qingshan also have to do with Qingshan's personality, talent, and efforts. Lu Changsheng naturally wouldn't believe that Lu Qingshan's achievements depended solely on the seed of law. Even before having the seed of law, Lu Qingshan had begun to stand out in the Jinyang sect. The seed of law merely turned someone already a genius, like Lu Qingshan, directly into a demonically brilliant talent. The integration and enhancement of the Seed of Law is a long-term process. King Shan's current level is not yet his limit. As he grows, his Sword Dao talent can continue to improve. Thinking of the effects of the Seed of Law, Lu Changsheng was filled with expectations for his son's future. Looking at this, the Seed of Law is indeed a valuable item. I wonder when I might obtain a few more. If a few more were to appear, my Lu family could have several more top-tier talents. Lu Changsheng mused eagerly, suddenly anticipating the rarity of such an item even more. He then took the news to his wife, Lu Miaohuan, to share this joyous news. The sword inquiry at the Heavenly Sword sect, dominating peers without rival. Lu Miaohuan was dressed in a deep red silk gown, with luxurious black mink draped over her shoulders, regal and supremely elegant. Upon seeing the content of the letter, her cold yet dignified face immediately showed a look of delight and pride. The Heavenly Sword sect was, in her mind, an almost insurmountably powerful entity. Now, not only could her son go there to challenge in the sword inquiry, but he also dominated all the peers from Heavenly Sword sect in the inquiry, competing with top-level spiritual bodies. How could she, as a mother, not be thrilled and proud? Chapter 1045, Divine Power Fruit, Cultivating the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Chapter 1045, Chapter 369, Divine Power Fruit, Cultivating the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Husband, with Qing Shan challenging the Heavenly Sword sect like this, won't he hurt the sect's pride and invite trouble? A moment later, Lu Miaohuan spoke again with hesitation, worried that her son might offend the Heavenly Sword sect. After all, the Heavenly Sword sect was infamously domineering outside. How could that be? As Jiang country's #1 immortal sect, the Heavenly Sword sect naturally has the magnanimity of an immortal sect. If they allowed Qing Shan to inscribe his name on the Heavenly Sword stele, it's tantamount to recognizing Qing Shan. Besides, Qing Shan has Tian Yuan True Immortal accompanying him on this trip to the Heavenly Sword sect to challenge. Nothing will happen. Lu Changsheng embraced his wife's graceful waist, enveloped in her skirt, and spoke with a smile. Though the Heavenly Sword sect might be overbearing, in his view, they wouldn't be so petty. Besides, challenging was a tradition of the Heavenly Sword sect. The intention was to use the world's top talents to temper their own disciples. If those who went to challenge could only lose and not win, then the tradition would be meaningless and unlikely to continue. Lu Miaohuan nodded gently and then spoke sentimentally. Qing Shan has been to Jiang country this time and hasn't been able to return even once. Ever since the end of the Purple Shadow Secret Realm, her son returned to the Jinyang sect and, after making his foundation establishment breakthrough, sent only one letter back home. Moreover, this letter arrived at by Lake Mountain 2 years after Lu Qingshan's foundation establishment breakthrough. Huan, if you feel bored, we could have a few more children. That way it won't be dull. Lu Changsheng embraced his wife's graceful body, picked her up, and made her sit on his lap with her round and pert bottom, whispering into her delicate ear. In her younger years, Lu Miaohuan had a rather playful personality. Later on, after becoming a mother, she gradually became more reserved. Now, with both sons grown up, her eldest son far away in Yu country, and her younger son spending most of his time at White Tiger Mountain, she couldn't leave by Lake Mountain due to practicing the heavenly longevity technique, so it was natural for her to feel some boredom. Thus, Lu Changsheng was considering letting Lu Miaohuan have another little one to keep her company at home. Though the household had so many children and newborn infants, the ones born by herself for 10 months were inevitably closer to her heart. Husband, upon hearing this, Lu Miaohuan gave Lu Changsheng a quizzical look. They were a mature couple, and having more children at this point seemed strange to her. Yet, a part of her was tempted. On one hand, indeed she felt bored at home and believed having a few kids could relieve the boredom. On the other hand, She personally longed for a well-behaved and sensible daughter. Seeing his wife's reaction, Lu Changsheng immediately embraced her curvy body and captured her fiery red lips. For a time, the room, filled with ancient charm, was quietly enveloped with the air of spring. Regarding the matter of Lu Qingshan, aside from Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoge, and a few others, Lu Changsheng didn't overly publicize it. After all, for such matters, those with information channels would naturally become aware, and for familial forces without such channels, there was little point in publicizing. Moreover, he did not wish to be too high-profile at this time. During these days, apart from daily cultivation and spending time with Lu Miaohuan, he went to the Red Lee Valley Market with Lu Miaoge to practice the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. Among the several females, his and Lu Miaoge's practice of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique was the deepest. He was just one step away from touching the profound level of the technique where spirit and divinity intertwined. As introduced by the Sun-Moon Samsara technique, such a state of spirit and divinity intermingling could greatly aid one's spirit and divine sense. If practiced to a certain extent, one could even be involved in the mood of reincarnation. Lu Changsheng had always hoped to draw a top-tier technique for spirit and divine sense. But having never managed to draw one, he now intended to cultivate soul and divine sense through the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. Congratulations to the host on the birth of 500 descendants, granting one lottery draw opportunity. One day, a system notification sounded in Lu Changsheng's mind. Did 500 come by unnoticed? Lu Changsheng felt rather sentimental upon hearing the system prompt. Now, over 40 years had passed, and the third generation of the Lu family was gradually coming of age, starting their own families and having children. In another few decades, the family's population was likely to snowball and multiply manifold. However, the previous generation of the Lu family didn't seem to have received child money from the system when their children were born. The quantity is there, but the quality still depends on me. Lu Changsheng thought about the proportion of children with a spiritual root among those 500 descendants and shook his head slightly. The chances of ordinary parents giving birth to children with a spiritual root were too small, and giving birth to an offspring with exceptional talent was even more difficult. However, once the second generation of the Lu family from by Lake Mountain begins to establish their own families, the quality of the third generation should improve considerably. Lu Changsheng felt no particular sentimentality and silently intoned in his heart, "System, draw lottery." Immediately, the system's great roulette appeared, shimmering with golden light. Moments later, the golden light settled on other. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining a divine power fruit. The reward has been delivered to the system space. The host may check it at any time. A dark black fruit appeared, emerging along with the system's notification sound. Divine power fruit. Lu Changsheng raised his eyebrows upon seeing the reward. Spirit fruit. Divine power fruit. Grade. 3rd rank. Description. Bears fruit once every 300 years. Matures after 500 years. Foundation establishment cultivators who consume it may gain enlightenment in a pseudo-divine ability that fits their own cultivation technique. It's indeed the same as the divine power fruit described in the ancient texts I've read before. Lu Changsheng had previously spent time studying various heaven and earth spiritual plants. Among them was the supernatural fruit tree. This tree was a 4th-order spiritual plant and required extremely harsh conditions for growth. The fruits it produced had remarkable effects, just as the system had described. One must realize that divine skills are something that only nascent soul immortals can cultivate. Ordinary cultivators, unless they are uniquely talented and encounter fortuitous opportunities, would have no chance to master divine skills. However, with this divine power fruit, after consumption, one can come to understand a divine skill on their own. If a foundation establishment cultivator gained mastery over a divine skill, even if they were originally an average cultivator, they could suddenly distinguish themselves. What a pity it's just one divine power fruit, and not a divine power fruit tree. Lu Changsheng shook his head slightly as he looked at the reward and found the single divine power fruit somewhat underwhelming. After all, he was already at the 9th level foundation establishment and had various technique and magical powers at his disposal. There was no need for him to consume the divine power fruit to gain a pseudo-divine ability to enhance his combat abilities. In a few years, Xianxia should be on the verge of a breakthrough to foundation establishment, so why not give this divine power fruit to him then? Lu Changxing thought of his son, Lu Qingxian. This son, with a 4th-grade spiritual root, was quite talented and extremely diligent. He was the only one in the family who did not cheat and relied on his own talents to cultivate step by step. Thus, Lu Changsheng planned to give the divine power fruit to his son to aid him on his cultivation journey after his breakthrough to foundation establishment. Time flew by swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, more than half a year had passed. During this time, Lu Changsheng welcomed 3 more children. Lu Miaohuan also successfully conceived their 3rd child. Although both of them were foundation establishment cultivators, and Lu Changsheng had prepared numerous elixir medicines for stable pregnancy for Lu Miaohuan. Still, after conceiving, Lu Miaohuan began to worry and fret again, anxious that this child might be born without a spiritual root. Recently, the Lu family's 9th level energy refinement disciples finally achieved 10 breakthroughs, earning Lu Changsheng another lottery draw. However, his luck was poor as he drew a rather insignificant 2nd-rank skill, spirit cooking. Common techniques might still have had some use to Lu Changsheng, but as for spirit cooking, it could only add a bit more interest to his life. On this day, at the Red Leaf Valley Market, in a simple and elegant cave mansion, Lu Changsheng was cultivating the Sun-Moon Samsara technique with Lu Miaoge. As the two of them cultivated the technique deeply, yin-yang energies flowed within their bodies, slowly transforming into strands of yin-yang magic power. Suddenly, the yin-yang magic power in Lu Changsheng's Qi Ocean core surged and began to devour the remaining 7 luminaries' mana in the elixir lake voraciously. His yin-yang creation scripture was finally on the verge of transcendence. Humming sounds, the elixir lake boiled within Lu Changsheng as the yin-yang magic power roared, impacting and refining the yin-yang 5 elements foundation base. At this moment, the Tao Foundation burst forth with infinite mysterious radiance, as dazzling as a rainbow, with myriads of glowing lights. Did it succeed? Lu Miaoge sensed the situation inside her husband's body, realizing that Lu Changsheng had completed the transformation of his technique and looked at the unfolding changes with some amazement. However, not wanting to disturb Lu Changsheng, she dared not stop the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. Just then, the cycling sun and moon formed above their heads by the Sun-Moon Samsara technique, and Lu Changsheng's yin-yang 5 elements Tao Foundation and yin-yang creation scripture resonated in a peculiar harmony. In an instant, within the cave mansion, the two silently merging silhouettes entered a state of profound mystery. Chapter 1046, Dream, Master Strategy. Chapter 1046, Chapter 370, Dream, Master Strategy. Humming. In the cave mansion, as the yin-yang creation scripture operated, the yin-yang energies intermingled with the revolution of the sun and moon. Lu Changsheng felt his mind cloud over as if entering a profound dream, and the scenery before his eyes began to shift. Not only him, but Lu Miaoge, who had melded with him, also felt her mind grow heavy, and they entered the dream together. Meanwhile, at the Qingyan sect, at the palace atop Kaiyun Peak, Yun Wanshang, who was cultivating, suddenly felt something stir at her heart. She was no stranger to this kind of sensation. She had felt this unsettling emotion several times before when Lu Changsheng and his disciple Xianxia were practicing the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. However, this emotion was many times stronger than before. The plain girl Samsara technique, which she had never managed to master before, seemed to sense an opportunity at this moment and began to circulate automatically. Yun Wanshang's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly as she immediately attempted to operate this cultivation technique, and she soon entered a mystical state. In an icy, snowy landscape, "Mommy, there's a baby crying." A 5 or 6-year-old girl, cute and pure as jade, pointed ahead at a swaddle and spoke in a crisp voice. The woman called Mommy, about 26 or 27, was extremely beautiful. Her black hair flowed over her shoulders, casting lustrous, soft light in the snowy environment. Her stunning face, with arched brows resembling new crescent feathers, peaceful eyes like limpid autumn water, rosy lips, and a high, sculpted nose like carved white jade, exuded innate nobility and pride. Her tall figure, draped in a colorful and flowery dress, revealed subtly graceful curves, adding splashes of color to the icy world. Seeing the baby in the swaddle, the woman, upon her daughter's pleading, took him back to the sect and took him as a disciple. Due to a wooden plaque with the character Lu found with the baby, she named him Lu Changsheng, hoping he would one day seek eternal life. Under the care of the mother and daughter, young Changsheng gradually grew up and began his cultivation. Despite having only a middle-grade spiritual root, his cultivation progressed rapidly without apparent bottlenecks. Moreover, he could master any cultivation techniques and spells after seeing them once. However, Lu Changsheng was very low profile, never competing with others, still consulting his senior sister and master on cultivation matters. As Lu Changsheng grew older and broke through to foundation establishment, he and his childhood sweetheart senior sister were destined to be together, and with their master's consent, they became Tao companions. But for some reason, Lu Changsheng harbored an inexplicable emotion toward his master, who was both a mentor and mother figure. An emotion he didn't even want to control, a desire to possess. Yet he knew this emotion was utterly against the moral code and could only be buried in his heart, never to be revealed. However, his wife, who had grown up and married him, sensed something was amiss. "Senior sister, I think this dress looks very nice and suits you well. You should try it on." That day, Lu Changsheng gifted a luxurious, colorful dress to his senior sister. "This dress, why does it look somewhat similar to mother's clothes?" The senior sister looked at the dress and slightly furrowed her brows. "I thought it really suited you when I saw it," Lu Changsheng said earnestly. His senior sister, gentle as water, never fussy and deeply caring for her husband Lu Changsheng. Though she found it odd, she didn't say much and complied with Lu Changsheng's wishes, changing into the luxurious, colorful dress. But afterward, her husband kept giving her clothes and ornaments that resembled her mother's, and even for the sake of interest, had her imitate their master's demeanor, which made her slightly uncomfortable. "Why do you always make me imitate mother?" The senior sister pouted, sounding a bit aggrieved. "I'm sorry, senior sister, I'm sorry. I just think you look very beautiful like this. If you don't like it, I won't make you do it anymore." Lu Changsheng quickly mollified his senior sister. Though he harbored a strange feeling toward his master, his love for his senior sister was genuine, and he did not wish to see her sad. If mother knew, she would definitely kill you. Seeing her husband in this manner, the senior sister was no longer angry and pouted. "Changsheng, you don't have feelings for mother, do you?" One day, the senior sister, her fair skin glistening with sweat and her face blushing, hesitated and looked at Lu Changsheng with confusion. However, as soon as she spoke, she felt like crossing a new threshold. Her heart trembled. "Senior sister, what are you talking about? That's our master. How could I possibly harbor feelings for our master?" Lu Changsheng immediately spoke out. Though he indeed had such thoughts, he could not let his senior sister know. He continued to argue. "Our master's appearance, features, and talents are unparalleled in the world, naturally inspiring admiration, but I am not a pervert. I just think that master's clothes also suit you very well in my heart, senior sister. You're the best in the world." The senior sister, Though gentle and usually accommodating to Lu Changsheng, was not foolish but rather very astute. Her question was already sensing something wrong, a probing. Through the subtle expressions of her husband, she almost confirmed her suspicions. This made her feel both aggrieved and angry, wondering how her junior brother could harbor such perverse thoughts. However, thinking of their mother's peerless elegance and how countless people in the cultivation world admired and secretly loved her mother, it seemed normal. After this incident, Lu Changsheng also knew that his senior sister had sensed his inner thoughts and no longer made such excessive requests. Chapter 1047, Dream Master Strategy. Chapter 1047, Chapter 370, Dream Master Strategy. Although senior sister could discern that her husband had previously been able to relieve his inner evil thoughts through marital affection, he had been suppressing it lately, affecting his cultivation. She felt it was necessary to have a serious talk with her junior brother. As the husband and wife opened up about the issue, Lu Changxing admitted he didn't know why, but he had some inexplicable feelings towards his master. However, he assured that he would never dare to harbor improper thoughts towards his master. Upon hearing this, senior sister also indicated that occasionally they could use affection to help Lu Changsheng dispel evil thoughts. "Changsheng, does your master look this good?" That day, senior sister had her hair elegantly styled, wore a magnificent, colorful robe, and had exquisite makeup on, with a rosy floral decoration at her brow, making her usually delicate and beautiful appearance even more gracefully magnificent. "Beautiful, beautiful," Lu Changxing responded without hesitation. Senior sister resembled the master by 5 parts, but now she appeared 8 parts similar. The only imperfection was that senior sister was too gentle, lacking the master's proudly noble charisma. "Call me master," senior sister said with a giggly smile. "Master," Lu Changsheng, holding senior sister's soft and fragrant body, called out. "Oh, what are you doing?" "I'm your master," senior sister playfully pretended to struggle, teasing her junior brother. However, just as the two of them were getting intimate, a stunningly beautiful figure in colorful robes approached the courtyard. She saw the intimate couple, and her stunning, dignified face immediately showed shock and anger. "Mother, master," Lu Changsheng and senior sister, seeing the master before them, quickly sat up and did not dare to face the master, feeling as if on pins and needles. The master's stunningly beautiful face was like a millennia-old iceberg, radiating unspeakable coldness and authority. Her curvaceous, tall body trembled, her chest heaving, as if freezing the air at that very moment. Without uttering a single word, the master, her face icy, turned around and left the courtyard. "Mother," senior sister's voice, laced with a sob, called out, but the master's figure had already disappeared. "It's my fault. I will apologize to the master immediately." Lu Changsheng, seeing his senior sister like this, felt tremendous guilt, blaming himself for what happened between him and the master. But senior sister said she was also at fault, and they both went to apologize. They kneeled in front of the master's hall for 3 days and 3 nights before the master, still with a cold expression, finally appeared. As a nascent soul cultivator, she had long noticed this disciple occasionally giving her improper looks, and those looks were all too familiar to her, having seen them in many others before. She had regarded it as youthful admiration, but little had she expected that her daughter would act so foolishly with the disciple. After this incident, the master assigned Lu Changsheng to go to the frontier, kill demons, and temper himself. Upon hearing this, senior sister expressed her desire to accompany her husband, Lu Changsheng. The master sighed and nodded in agreement. The couple spent 30 years in the frontier, slaying demons and making quite a name for themselves. As time passed, Lu Changxing advanced to the late stage of foundation establishment and began preparing for core formation. Even with the master's care, core formation was extremely challenging for him. But he was fortunate. Through various opportunities and narrowly escaping danger, he finally gathered enough resources for core formation and prepared for the breakthrough. Your mental spirit is too disturbed. The master, acting as protector for Lu Changsheng, noticed his condition and spoke out. "I know, master." Lu Changsheng replied softly. He didn't know why, but at that moment, looking at his master, he felt an inexplicable unrest inside him, as if the emotions he harbored for her over the years were about to erupt. Focus on your core formation. The master, seeing Lu Changsheng in such a state, patted his head like she used to when he was young. When Lu Changsheng first began his cultivation in his childhood and encountered problems, it was always her way to comfort him. But as the years passed, they had rarely been this close. Looking at his master's nearly ethereal beauty, Lu Changsheng's heart raced. Suddenly, gathering courage from nowhere, he abruptly pulled the master's jade hand and drew her into his embrace. The master exclaimed, wanting to react, but was afraid of hurting Lu Changsheng. And realizing Lu Changsheng was not in his right state, she assumed that his preparation for core formation had disturbed his mind, giving rise to a heart demon. As she fell into Lu Changsheng's embrace, the warm masculine scent enveloped her, and her dreamy, crystal-like, beautiful eyes widened, her familiar face approaching hers. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. Wonderful, so wonderful. Lu Changsheng kissed his master's lips, his body trembling with excitement. He had never imagined that one day he would be able to kiss his master, nor had he ever realized how wonderful kissing could feel. His master's lips were as tender and sweet as flowers, as soft and fluffy as clouds, as warm and enticing as warm jade, and like exquisite liquor, just a sip could intoxicate. Meanwhile, the master's mind went blank, her sensory perceptions heightened to the extreme, especially the warmth of her lips. As if electrified, currents flowed from her lips throughout her body, giving her an indescribable sensation. It was a mix of helplessness and unbearable shyness. Thump, thump, thump. The master's exquisite body stiffened. One could almost hear her own heartbeat, making her blood flow faster and her cheeks gradually blush. Bang! The master forcefully pushed Lu Changsheng away, although it was just for a breath's time. But the sensation on her lips directly struck her soul, leaving her entire body feeling a strange softness, her looks turning from shock to bewilderment to panic to anger. Chapter 1048, Dreams, Master's Conquest. Chapter 1048, Chapter 370, Dreams, Master's Conquest. Focus on your core formation. Master's voice was ice-cold as she spoke. Such coldness mirrored the time when he and his senior sister played pranks, only to be caught by Master. Instantly, Lu Changsheng calmed down. He didn't know why he had suddenly felt such an impulse, daring to act so presumptuously and unreasonably. This was his master, the master who was both a teacher and a mother to him. Over the years, his relationship with Master had finally started to thaw. But now this presumptuous act had plunged their relationship back into the deep freeze. If his senior sister learned that he had not only harbored inappropriate thoughts about Master, but also acted so rashly, he would be at a loss for words. Core formation. The chilling authority in Master's voice continued to resound. Looking at Master before him, Lu Changsheng composed himself, settling into a focused state, and began to earnestly attempt core formation. He succeeded in his breakthrough to core formation. But when he opened his eyes, Master was gone. Lu Changsheng wanted to go and apologize to Master, but she, with her icy demeanor, spoke little to him and went to the border to take command. Facing this situation, Lu Changsheng sighed, consolidated his cultivation realm, and then devoted himself to helping his senior sister with her core formation. However, just as his senior sister had breached core formation, Lu Changsheng heard of a demon race invasion at the border. Master had gone missing while defending the border, suspected to have encountered trouble. Lu Changsheng immediately rushed to the border, intent on venturing into the great wilderness to find Master. Yet, inside the great wilderness lay dangers untold. Not just for nascent soul cultivators, but even nascent soul cultivators might perish within. Thinking of Master heading to the border because of his own involvement, Lu Changsheng resolutely entered the great wilderness. Heaven rewards the diligent, and eventually, he found a trace of Master. Master was being pursued by a demon king. He burned his lifespan, performing divine skills to aid Master in slaying the demon king. All this fighting had already left Lu Changsheng utterly exhausted. Now, the life-burning divine skill made him feel like a spent arrow, on the verge of losing consciousness. Master, I've found you. He looked at the stunning figure before him, smiling as he spoke. Changsheng, Master, seeing her bloodied, aged, and weary disciple, felt a pang of heartache. For some reason, she harbored an inexplicable emotion toward this disciple. Like? No. Dislike? Also no. Her feelings were extremely complex, indescribable even to herself. After being kissed by this disciple in the past, she had even felt a vague stirring of emotions, as if experiencing the dawn of affection, bewildered. Over the years, she still remembered the details of kissing Lu Changsheng. Therefore, her reasons for not wanting to meet, and a bit of fear in facing Lu Changsheng and her own daughter at the border, had lingered all these years. Seeing the heavily injured Lu Changsheng before her, she took him to a cave for healing and rest. His injuries were even more serious than she had imagined, and she immediately had him take elixir medicines. Changsheng, how did you venture into the great wilderness? Master asked Lu Changsheng. I heard Master had gone missing, so I guess you might have entered the great wilderness and was very worried about you. Lu Changsheng looked pale and fragile as he said this. Listening to him, and thinking about his earlier words, Master, I've found you. Master felt her heart wrench with a bittersweet tremor. The great wilderness was fraught with danger. Even a disciple with the power of core formation might face certain death. Seeing her disciple's injured state, she realized what dangers he must have braved. She wanted to scold Lu Changsheng for risking himself so recklessly. But seeing his pale and frail appearance, she swallowed her words. The once tiny baby she had brought back to the sect, without her realizing it, had grown into an adult, strong and capable. We can't stay here long. Heal quickly, and I'll prepare medicines for you. Master sighed, her voice much softer than before. She took out a pill furnace, adding the slain demon king into it to refine healing medicines. Thank you, Master. Lu Changsheng saw Master's face was no longer that cold, and responded with a smile. Knowing that demons could show up at any time in the great wilderness, he knew he must heal quickly. Chapter 1049, Soul Path Dreams, Nascent Soul, Divine Sense. Chapter 1049, Chapter 371, Soul Path Dreams, Nascent Soul, Divine Sense. Lu Changsheng and his mentor were healing in the cave mansion, but because of the earlier commotion, it wasn't long before a demon king arrived. Faced with this situation, the mentor and student could only hide in the vast mountains, fleeing for their lives. In such a life-or-death escape, the bond between the mentor and student deepened continuously. Gradually, the mentor developed unusual feelings for Lu Changsheng deep in her heart. It felt like they were no longer mentor and student, but rather longtime Taoist friends or perhaps lovers in a flirtatious phase. The mentor constantly suppressed these emotions. But once her mental spirit relaxed, the bits and pieces between them surged towards her like a tide, causing her heart to flutter occasionally when she looked at Lu Changsheng. Mentor, it seems we're going to die here. That day, the two were hiding in a narrow cave. Lu Changsheng, pale and weak, spoke to his mentor. Coincidentally, the mentor was also quietly watching him. The moment their eyes met, they saw a different expression in each other's pupils, and their hearts throbbed. At that moment, A strong wave of love surged in Lu Changsheng's heart. He reached out to embrace his mentor's waist and kissed her deeply towards the place of his dreams. The mentor, faced with such action, wore a look of disbelief and shock. But over the years, she knew very well Lu Changsheng's feelings for her. Thinking of all the moments they shared together and their current precarious situation, she sighed and let him proceed. Feeling Lu Changsheng's domineering gentleness and his hot breath, the mentor's suppressed emotions also burst forth. At this moment, the relationship between mentor and student, as well as moral ethics, all vanished from the mentor's heart. In the cramped and confined cave, a hint of spring subtly spread. However, at the last step, the mentor sobered up from her desires and rejected Lu Changsheng's final advance. "I'm sorry, mentor." The atmosphere in the cave turned somewhat awkward for a while. "Heal well." The mentor, her face cold, said so. "Mentor, if we survive and return." Lu Changsheng looked at the mentor in front of him. He could sense that the mentor had not so resolutely resisted him during the process. This indicated that a subtle shift had occurred in their relationship. At this time, if he still behaved solemnly, it would be too hypocritical. So, even at the risk of angering her, he mustered the courage to speak his heart. "We are mentor and student. How can you justify this to Miaoga?" The mentor wanted to respond this way, but as the words came to her lips, she sighed and said, "Heal well." Not long after, the mentor and student were nearly trapped by several demon kings entering a critical situation. All elixir medicines and spiritual medicines were exhausted, and their mana depleted. The mentor held the unconscious Lu Changsheng in front of her side, then held her student face to face. At this moment, she could clearly feel his weak and disordered breathing. In healing, the mentor thought to herself, knowing that there was only one way in this situation. Eventually, Lu Changsheng woke up, feeling the warmth and beauty like that of jade, and looked at the mentor in front of him. The mentor also looked at him. As their eyes met, the mentor's face turned red as a tide, her voice cold yet somewhat enticing as she preempted, "Enough talk. This is for healing." Hearing this, Lu Changsheng, although aware it was for healing, still joyfully accepted the treatment with a blissful expression. The mentor felt both shame and anger, although her intention was for healing, not indulging in desires. However, their relationship, under these circumstances, was not appropriate. But how could she bear to watch Lu Changsheng die from his injuries? "Lu Changsheng, this is for healing." "Mentor, I know, it's just for healing." "Mentor, I need to be healed. This is the last time." "Mentor." The mentor knew what was about to happen and quickly said, "This is the last time." "Mentor, it's the last time. Can you tell me your feelings?" "Didn't you say it was the last time? How can you go back on your word?" "It is the last time, but my injuries haven't healed yet. So this time isn't over." "Lu Changsheng, will you ever stop?" "No, mentor. I love you." With the effect of the mentor's spiritual body, the two eventually awaited rescue, escaping from the vast mountains and returned to the sect. "Changsheng, we cannot continue like this." "Mentor, I'm sorry. I really can't help it. It's my fault. I should never have done this." "Mentor, you aren't wrong. It's all my fault. If someone must be punished, let me be that person. Let's stop here." "Mentor, this is cultivation. You have the Tongyu Phoenix marrow body. Our cultivation together will enable us to break through nascent soul and even reach divinity transformation, ending this chaotic era." "Mentor, please, this is the last time." "This is indeed the last time," the mentor said softly yet coldly, resolutely. "Mentor, why can't you accept me?" Lu Changsheng sighed. "Accept? How can we justify this to Miaoga?" The mentor's cold words carried irony and self-mockery. Eventually one day, the affair between Lu Changsheng and the mentor came to the notice of their senior sister, Yun Miaoga. Angry, she went alone to the frontier to slay demons. Lu Changsheng immediately followed her. Amidst an attack by the demon emperor to protect his senior sister, Lu Changsheng burned his life's potential, achieved a temporary breakthrough to nascent soul, and severely injured the demon emperor. However, after this battle, Lu Changsheng fell into a coma, his physical body withered, and his soul dissipated. Even though the mentor tried healing, she could not awake him. Mentor, this is truly the last time. Chapter 1050, Soul Path Dreams, Nascent Soul, Divine Sense. Chapter 1050, Chapter 371, Soul Path Dreams, Nascent Soul, Divine Sense. Lu Changsheng muttered in his last trace of consciousness. Red Leaf Valley Marketplace. Within a simple and elegant cave mansion. It was like a moment had passed, yet also seemed like an eternity had gone by. Lu Changsheng slowly woke up from a deep dream. He opened his eyes, his pupils flowing with yin-yang energies, his body still holding Lu Miaoge in a close embrace. Just now, I had a dream. Lu Changsheng's expression was somewhat dazed, realizing he had just had a very long dream. The contents of the dream were very hazy to him now, and he couldn't remember clearly. He vaguely remembered that in the dream, he was taken in by a nascent soul immortal named Yunwan Shang, who became his master. His wife, Lu Miaoge, became the daughter of the nascent soul immortal in the dream, and thus his martial sister. In the dream, he had grown up with his martial sister, eventually becoming Dao companions. Yet even though he clearly had his martial sister as his Dao companion, he harbored feelings for his master who was both a mentor and a mother figure, leading him to rebel against his master in the end. Lu Changsheng was bewildered by the absurd dream. Wait, Yunwan Shang, isn't that the name of Shi Yu's master, Kai Yun True Immortal? Lu Changsheng was stunned, a strange expression in his eyes. It was one thing to become Dao companions with Lu Miaoge in the dream, but why did he also dream about Shi Yu's master? He had never even met Kai Yun True Immortal, so how could he be dreaming about her? I've never met Kai Yun True Immortal. How would I know what she looks like? Lu Changsheng frowned, only then vaguely recalling that the appearance of his master in the dream was identical to a nascent soul female cultivator with whom he had once spent a passionate night. Could it be that daytime thoughts become nighttime dreams? And now that I am about to achieve core formation, am harboring thoughts about that nascent soul female cultivator? And then, deep down, I also have some thoughts about Shi Yu's master, Kai Yun True Immortal. So, I constructed such a dream? Lu Changsheng was bemused, examining his inner self. Years ago, the nascent soul female cultivator had given him a jade pendant, indicating that he could contact her after achieving foundation establishment. However, due to special circumstances, Lu Changsheng didn't want to rely on that connection and never contacted her. Now that he was about to achieve core formation, Lu Changsheng felt that it might be time to reconnect with the past. As for Xianxia's master, Kai Yun True Immortal Yunwan Shang, Lu Changsheng could only say that, as a man, he had always heard of the big name of Kai Yun True Immortal. She had trained two exceptional disciples, Chu Qingyi and Xianxia, and it was perfectly normal for him to be curious about her. Moreover, when he and Xianxia had gone to Qingyin's sect to propose marriage, she flatly rejected him. It was normal to have a little revenge in his dreams, right? Changsheng, what just happened? At that moment, Lu Miaoge also woke from the dream, opening her beautiful eyes. She had entered the dream together with Lu Changsheng. The dream was so real that it affected her deeply. But recalling her husband's actions in the dream, Lu Miaoge couldn't help but inwardly curse. Although he was a bit unruly on regular days, wasn't supposed to be this ridiculous. Sister Miaoge, did you also have a dream just now? Lu Changsheng looked at the gentle beauty in his arms, feeling a sudden surprise. At this moment, he realized that this was not a simple dream. It must have been the soul path dreams mentioned in the lunar cycle reincarnation technique. This cultivation technique allowed a male and female cultivator to reach a state of spiritual union when practiced to a certain extent. This state transcended the physical body and was a dual cultivation of soul and consciousness related to the legendary soul path dreams. Within the dream realm, the experiences of life were both real and unreal, greatly aiding the understanding of mindset, divine sense, and insight into the great Tao. However, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge, along with Xianxia, Ling Zixiao, and Bai Ling, had practiced the lunar cycle reincarnation technique for many years and had never entered this mystical state of spiritual union. Now, not only had they entered this state, but they had also directly entered the most mysterious soul path dreams, which was truly astounding. Yes, I remember in the dream that I became your martial sister. Lu Miaoge's cheeks were flushed as she softly spoke. Her recollection of the dream was also somewhat vague, remembering only the general details. However, concerning the situation with Mother Yin Wanshang and Lu Changxing in the dream, she was quite clear. Thus, when mentioning the Mother Yin Wanshang in the dream, Lu Miaoge found it difficult to speak. Although it was just a dream, such a situation indeed violated ethics. Yin Wanshang, doesn't the name of the mother in the dream share the same name as she used Master Kaiyun True Immortal? At this moment, Lu Miaoge thought about the name of her mother in the dream. Although she had never met Yin Wanshang, she had heard of this true immortal's name. Could this dream be related to Changsheng? And he also has thoughts about she used Master Kaiyun True Immortal. Lu Miaoge looked at her husband with an odd expression. If it were a mother figure, it would indeed breach ethical norms. But considering it was the master, given her husband's character, it seemed this dream should be related to the lunar cycle reincarnation technique. At that time, my cultivation technique completion resonated with the active cycle of the lunar cycle reincarnation technique. It could also be due to the influence of the Tai life water technique, causing us to unintentionally enter this soul path dream state. Lu Changsheng interrupted Lu Miaoge immediately, signaling that she should not continue. Although it was just a dream, the two of them having the same dream, where he not only rebelled against his master in the dream, but where his wife Lu Miaoge was also depicted as his mother, was truly embarrassing for him. The lunar cycle reincarnation technique, Lu Miaoge nodded slightly, also realizing the connection with the lunar cycle reincarnation technique. She was distinctly aware that her soul and divine sense had significantly improved. Moreover, she felt a slight advancement in her understanding and insight into the great Tao. Chapter 1051, Soul Path Dreams, Nascent Soul, Divine Sense. Chapter 1051, Chapter 371, Soul Path Dreams, Nascent Soul, Divine Sense. If he were to attempt core formation in the future, he could now increase his chances by a few %. Right away, the two contemplated the changes in their conditions in silence. Lu Changsheng's divine consciousness began to spread from his cave mansion to the outside world. 500 zhang, 600 zhang, 800 zhang. Only when his divine consciousness reached 1,000 zhang did Lu Changsheng start to feel fatigued and strained, and he withdrew his consciousness. A divine consciousness of 1,000 zhang. This is already within the domain of a nascent soul immortal. My original limit for divine consciousness was around 500 zhang, comparable to a false core. Now, it has actually doubled, akin to a nascent soul immortal. Lu Changsheng's heart surged with a mix of delight and astonishment. This increase was terrifying. One must know, enhancing divine consciousness is much more difficult than increasing cultivation level. Most people's divine consciousness is improved by breaking through realms. His divine consciousness had far exceeded his peers in his early years, solely due to the effects of the Purple Mansion elixir. However, with his breakthrough to the 9th level foundation establishment, his divine consciousness was no longer far ahead of his peers, only comparable to a false core. But now, due to this inexplicable soul path dream, his divine consciousness had jumped directly to the level of core formation. Now that I have switched to practicing the yin-yang creation scripture with a robust foundation and a divine consciousness comparable to core formation, charging towards core formation should be a breeze for me, as long as the spiritual energy is sufficient. Lu Changsheng began to examine the yin-yang magic power within his qi ocean core. The yin and yang colored mana flowed through his meridians and core, nourishing his physical body every moment. This mana did not possess the sharp and fierce qualities of the seven luminaries' mana. It emanated an aura of inclusiveness and transformation, mysterious and profound. Even though the yin-yang creation scripture didn't focus on offense like the seven luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, the power and quality of its mana were undoubtedly more than twice as high. Moreover, the yin-yang magic power, being all-encompassing, would greatly enhance the effectiveness of any technique or magical treasure he wielded. Lu Changsheng felt that now, even if he didn't use his physical body, nine treasures Rui Bone, and relied solely on his mana, he could easily vanquish the elder ancestor of the Su family from back in the day. As for Black Crow True Immortal, since he hadn't even gotten a chance to make a move, Lu Changsheng didn't want to use him as a benchmark. I can now also attempt to resolve the issue of the Dragon Roar physique for Shiyu and Xiaohe. Lu Changsheng exhaled deeply, a faint smile on his face. Switching to the practice of the yin-yang creation scripture was beneficial for him, not only because it laid a supreme foundation on the immortal path. The first and foremost effect was that it could resolve the issues his wife and daughter faced. Sister Miaoge. At this moment, Lu Changsheng turned to look at Lu Miaoge, concerned about his wife's condition. Over the years, due to his switch to practicing the yin-yang creation scripture, Lu Miaoge's cultivation had been severely delayed, still at the foundation establishment fourth layer. Now that he had mastered the yin-yang creation scripture, he could purify the Tai Dao seed within Lu Miaoge, transforming her foundation, and take the water of virtue technique to the next level. At the same time, Qingyun sect. Inside the palace at the summit of Kaiyun Peak, Yun Wanshang was dressed in a colorful and elegant long dress, her curvaceous figure sitting in a poised position, with her long black hair cascading down her back to the ground, adding to her stunning and dignified appearance. Changsheng, Miaoge, Yin Xiao, Yin Wanshang uttered softly and slowly opened her eyes. Seeing the familiar scenes of the palace before her, Yin Wanshang's heart surged like a tide, realizing that everything that had happened was but a dream. A dream? What is happening? Yin Wanshang murmured. Cultivators' souls are stable, and except when they are weak, succumb to qi deviation, or are influenced by supernatural techniques, they almost never dream. Her own prior state was clearly influenced by supernatural techniques. Is it because of the sun-moon samsara technique and the Veronica reincarnation scripture? Yin Wanshang vaguely guessed the reason behind her dream. When Lu Changsheng and Xianxia practiced the lunar cycle reincarnation technique, she had felt an indescribable sense of premonition. For some unknown reason, she now experienced an unprecedentedly similar sense of premonition, and it allowed her to find an opportunity in the Veronica reincarnation scripture that she could never master, propelling her to reincarnate into a dream. Yin Miaoge, that's the wife of that rascal Lu Miaoge. Could it be this sense of premonition was from Lu Changsheng and his wife practicing the sun-moon samsara technique, receiving entry into the soul path dream recorded within the scripture? Could soul path dreams only be accessed after reaching the nascent soul stage? Yin Wanshang furrowed her brows, pondering what was happening. Because of Lu Changsheng and Xiaoxia's practice of the sun-moon samsara technique, she had already guessed that the issue originated with Lu Changsheng. It must be her own Tongyu Phoenix marrow body forming some sort of wonderful connection with the spirit-nurturing energy inside Lu Changsheng. Therefore, as the other party practiced the sun-moon samsara technique, they would resonate with her in a remarkable way. It was just that By Lake Mountain was quite distant from Qingyun's sect, and separated by a formation, so she couldn't sense it during regular cultivation. However, this time Lu Changsheng, for some reason, advanced the Sun-Moon Samsara technique to an extremely profound degree, enabling her to sense it despite the considerable distance. This dream sequence, Yin Wanshang thought of the centuries-long memories from her dream, and her beautiful eyes revealed a hint of embarrassment and annoyance. In the dream, not only had she fallen in love with Lu Changsheng, but in the end, to save him, she even, although it was a dream, the experience felt very real to her. If both Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge remembered such matters, she didn't know how she would face Lu Changsheng afterwards. Even, Yin Wanshang felt somewhat guilty toward her disciple Xianxia. Wait a minute, it was I who started first. What am I feeling guilty about Shiyu for? Moreover, this dream couldn't possibly be my own subconscious thoughts. It must be that rascal Lu Changsheng's fantasy. Yet in the dreamscape, that scoundrel was incredibly infatuated, unlike his promiscuous behavior now. If only he was like this just towards me, and Shiyu. What am I thinking about now? Yin Wanshang immediately discarded the emerging emotions and sentiments from her heart, her face turning cold. If we say that Lu Changsheng and this Yin Miaoge are the two practicing the Sun-Moon Samsara technique, then what is the situation with Lu Yinxiao? Yin Wanshang thought back to the dream where she failed to save Lu Changsheng, but in his last moments of life, she gave birth to a son for him. She had named the child Lu Yinxiao. In the dream, this son's birth was accompanied by heavenly phenomena, displaying shocking talent. He began qi refinement at 6, reached foundation establishment at 18, attained core formation at 60, and reached nascent soul at 180. He understood any technique without any master, challenged those beyond his realm as easily as drinking water or eating, and had never met an opponent since the start of his cultivation. His prowess was unmatched, and he was invincible in all directions. After the nascent soul breakthrough, the demon race, the archenemy of the human race, was directly subdued and settled. After that, Lu Yinxiao marched into the vast mountains, sweeping through without resistance, commanding respect, and making countless demon kings submit. Even now, when Yin Wanshang recalled her son's talent from the dream, she was astonished, thinking that if she really had such a son, the entire Jiang country cultivation realm would not be able to contain him. But the question was, why would she have such a son in her dream? Could it be within my subconscious, I wished to have a child with that rascal? Yin Wanshang thought as such. As soon as this idea appeared, Yin Wanshang immediately spat out in disgust, shaking her head and discarding the thought. She felt disdain towards him already. How could she wish to have a child with such a person? After all, every time she heard news of Lu Changsheng, recalling his promiscuous behavior and the father of hundreds of children, she wished she could just cleave him with a sword. Moments later, Yin Wanshang roughly guessed the reason. It was likely related to rumors she heard from Heavenly Sword Sect. A Jinyang sect disciple named Lu Qingshan had gone to Heavenly Sword Sect to challenge their swordsman and had been invincible among his peers, with only the supreme sword bone of Heavenly Sword Sect being able to match him. Others might not be aware of the might of this supreme sword bone from Heavenly Sword Sect, but as a nascent soul immortal from Qinyan sect, she naturally understood well. With talent both exceptional and refined, at the time, no geniuses from Qinyan sect, spirit-taming sect, or Wuxia sect could stand as his opponent. Disciples who could withstand a strike from him were considered top-tier talents. Yet such a person turned out to be the father of Lu Qingshan. When she learned that Lu Qingshan was the son of Lu Changsheng, she was incredibly surprised. Unexpectedly, Lu Changsheng, with his promiscuous behavior, could actually father such a son with shocking talent and extraordinary gifts. Even so, Yin Wanshang, would never bear offspring for such a swine. Yin Wanshang snorted disdainfully. Moreover, even if she were really to have a child, it should have her family name. Yin? Why should it have a name Lu? As Yun Wanshang's emotions gradually calmed, she suddenly realized her soul had become purer and more transparent. Her divine sense noticeably enhanced, and the bottleneck in her cultivation seemed to have loosened. This, Yun Wanshang was astonished, and immediately began to quietly sense the changes within herself. Chapter 1052. Lu Miaoge is pregnant, heart of a newborn. Chapter 1052. Chapter 372. Lu Miaoge is pregnant, heart of a newborn. Red Leaf Valley Market, inside a simple and elegant cave mansion. Lu Changsheng was channeling the Yin Yang Creation Classic, using the Tai Seed Way art to cleanse and nourish the Tao seed within Lu Miaoge. During this process, Lu Miaoge's Water of Virtue technique began to operate autonomously under the influence of the Tai Tao seed and the Yin Yang Creation Classic, optimizing and adjusting the pathways of her cultivation technique. The portions of the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture that characterize her abilities in mana were gradually washed away, thereby acquiring some characteristics of the Yin Yang Creation Classic. Lu Changsheng suspected that after the cleansing, Lu Miaoge's Water of Virtue technique might surpass the orthodox level techniques and would not be inferior to the profound mystery level techniques. Changsheng, I think I'm pregnant. That day, Lu Miaoge sensed a life force forming in her lower abdomen and spoke to Lu Changsheng with some surprise. Ah, pregnant. Lu Changsheng was momentarily stunned, somewhat astonished. He had been cleansing her Tao seed and foundation during these days. How could she be pregnant? Moreover, it usually took about 10 days to sense the life force of a pregnancy. 10 days ago, he and Lu Miaoge had still been immersed in soul path dreams. Could it be that the child was conceived while I was switching cultivation techniques and entering the soul path dream? Lu Changsheng immediately guessed what had happened. Although at that time, they were practicing the lunar cycle reincarnation technique and switching cultivation techniques, which made pregnancy nearly impossible. Such an occurrence was not absolute. Years ago, when he was healing Nangong Meili, she had gotten pregnant with Nangong Yao Yao under similar circumstances. Let me check. Lu Changsheng, without much thought, placed his head on Lu Miaoge's flat and soft lower abdomen. Using his spiritual force, he immediately sensed a very faint life force. It's true, you're pregnant, Lu Changsheng said with a smile on his face. We were just saying after switching the cultivation technique, we'd try hard. I didn't expect you'd get pregnant. But in the coming days, it will delay your cultivation again, Sister Miaoge. 10 years ago, Lu Changsheng had been planning to have a second child with Lu Miaoge. But because of practicing the lunar cycle reincarnation technique and switching to the Yin Yang Creation Classic, this had been postponed. Unexpectedly, just after he had finished switching techniques, Lu Miaoge got pregnant. I wonder if this child will have exceptional talents, like Yao Yao, Lu Changsheng pondered internally. It wasn't that he desperately hoped for the child to have extraordinary talent for his own benefit, but having been married to Lu Miaoge for so many years, his feelings for her were different from those for his other concubines. He hoped that this child would have good talents, so they could always stay together in the future. It won't delay. Lu Miaoge gently caressed her abdomen, her eyes showing a hint of maternal warmth, gentle as water. Then, with her beautiful eyes brimming, she softly asked Lu Changsheng, Changsheng, do you hope for a boy or a girl? Lu Changsheng hadn't expected his wife to care about such a matter, but he understood Lu Miaoge's thoughts and said warmly, in my heart, boys and girls are always the same. After chatting and being affectionate for a long time, Lu Changsheng went to Qingzhou Mountain. He announced that Lu Miaoge was pregnant. He would take her back to Bai Lake Mountain to nurture the pregnancy, and hence hoped Lu Yuanding would return to Red Leaf Valley Market to take charge. Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanding were both surprised to hear that Lu Miaoge was pregnant. It had been more than 30 years since they'd last had a child. However, such matter was common in the cultivation world. They had previously wondered why Lu Changsheng, who loved having children, only had one with Lu Miaoge. After congratulating them, Lu Yuanding immediately told the couple to go back and nurture the pregnancy well. His injuries had healed, and he could now preside over the Red Leaf Valley Market. Then Lu Yuanding, and Lu Changsheng discussed the matter of the Third Foundation Establishment Cultivator at Qingzhou Mountain. After so many years, Qingzhou Mountain was also prepared to use the Foundation Establishment elixir inherited from their ancestors to produce the Third Foundation Establishment Cultivator of their family. Father-in-law, uncle, you can handle these matters as you see fit, Lu Changsheng said with a smile. Since establishing by Lake Mountain, he rarely paid attention to Qingzhou Mountain's affairs, never intervening. All these years, he only dealt with business matters benefiting Qingzhou Mountain, never interfering in other aspects. Okay. Lu Yuanding nodded and then summoned the Lu family disciple who was preparing for Foundation establishment to meet Lu Changsheng, so that Lu Changsheng could get to know him. This Lu family disciple was very young, only 35 years old, and was very respectful in front of Lu Changsheng. After giving a few words of encouragement, Lu Changsheng and Lu Yuanding went to Red Leaf Valley Market and then took Lu Miaoga back to Bai Lake Mountain. Bai Lake Mountain, Mount Sumeru, Cave Heaven. Is it still not possible? Lu Changsheng held Ling Xixiao's wrist, channeling the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, trying to solve her Dragon Roar physique issue. But her Dragon Roar chi was too intense. He was only at the Foundation establishment stage, and the Yin-Yang chi could only serve a restraining function to balance Yin and Yang. Thoroughly solving the Dragon Roar physique wasn't feasible at present. Chapter 1053. Lu Miaoga is pregnant. The heart of an innocent child. Chapter 1053. Chapter 372. Lu Miaoga is pregnant. The heart of an innocent child. Yin and Yang reversal. Ling Zixiao was startled by Lu Changsheng's words. You have to understand, the mysteries of the spiritual body are hard to explain. Reversing the origin of a spiritual body is deemed a fantasy. Nonetheless, she still chose to believe in Lu Changsheng. Moreover, she was very attracted to Lu Changsheng's idea. Although she had a third-grade spirit root, that talent was far too insufficient to keep up with Lu Changsheng's pace. If she could reverse the origin of the Dragon Roar physique and turn it into assistance, even if the effect was only 1/10 of the Dragon Roar physique, it would still be a significant help. My lord, I am currently fine, but it's Xiao, Ling Zixiao said softly. With the Dragon Invocation technique in hand, her Dragon Roar physique wasn't much of an issue and could wait. It was her daughter, Lu Lingyi, that she worried about. Just days ago, her son Lu Lingxiao had broken through to the 4th level energy refinement, and her daughter had also been asking about cultivation, which troubled her deeply. Xiaohe's Dragon Roar physique is an incomplete spirit physique, and it has not yet awakened. But my mana is sufficient to balance her Yin-Yang chi, Lu Changsheng said with a smile. His Yin-Yang chi could suppress Ling Zixiao's Dragon Roar physique, so naturally, it was effortless to balance the Yin-Yang chi for his daughter Lu Lingyi. If that's the case, then I will trouble you, my lord. Dressed in a lake blue palace dress, with her black hair coiled up and adorned with a blue jade hairpin, Ling Zixiao's beautiful countenance was dignified and elegant. Xiao is my daughter. What trouble could there be? Lu Changsheng chuckled lightly, holding his wife's hand. After core formation, he wasn't sure if he could reverse Ling Zixiao's Dragon Roar origin, but he was somewhat confident in doing so for his daughter, Lu Lingyi. Ling Zixiao smiled tenderly, her bright eyes brimming with tender admiration. Although she was strong and independent, she was still a woman. After so many years married to Lu Changsheng, she had grown deeply attached. When it was nearing the time for Lu Lingyi to finish school, the couple headed to the Lu family mansion. Daddy, Mommy. Lu Lingyi came home, cheerfully calling out upon seeing her parents. It wasn't so much the joy of seeing her parents. She was always in a cheerful mood. But Ling Zixiao considered this cheerfulness to be foolish happiness, an innocent laugh. Xiaoa, how is your martial arts training going? Lu Changsheng came to his daughter's side and pinched her slightly chubby, tender cheeks. Lu Lingyi completed the channel qi into the body and felt the stream of spiritual power inside her, proclaiming excitedly with a beaming face. Xiaohe is amazing. Lu Changsheng rubbed his daughter's head, his smile a bit stiff, praising her. He planned to use the Cave Mystique treasure mirror on his daughter, Lu Lingyi, first, after his own breakthrough to core. Lu Changsheng then taught his daughter how to use the storage bag. During the process, he warned her carefully not to use it on anyone, not to use it on Roll, and only after she tried several times herself did he lay his worries to rest. Previously, he had not thought his daughter could be so foolish, but after teaching his daughter to cultivate, Lu Changsheng realized that she indeed might be capable of such. In the following days, Lu Changsheng spent his time accompanying his wives and children at home. Although Lu Miaoge was pregnant, the baptism of the Tao seed was not affected. Moreover, as the Tai life water technique was a dual cultivators technique, it was somewhat beneficial to the birth of offspring. So during these days, Lu Changsheng also hastily baptized the Tao seed for Lu Miaoge, further solidifying her foundation. After 3 months, Lu Miaoge's Tai Tao seed finally transformed under the baptism of the Yin-Yang creation scripture. Lu Miaoge's cultivation level broke through from the foundation establishment 4th layer to the 5th layer. The new water of virtue technique was more than twice as profound as before. Moreover, Lu Miaoge felt that the water of virtue technique now was a better fit for her. Because the water of virtue technique was more of a supplementary technique, not good for attack. Though the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture added some offensive capability to the cultivation technique, it was not very fitting for Lu Miaoge. The Yin-Yang creation scripture, being well-balanced and all-encompassing, was in harmony with the water of virtue technique and Lu Miaoge's temperament. After Lu Changsheng finished transferring her practice to the new techniques, he also helped Lu Miaoge upgrade and recast her 2 life-bound spiritual artifacts. The original Ruoxue bottle was renamed by Lu Changsheng as the Yin-Yang Pure Jade bottle. As for the Tai Chi talisman, it remained the same, only incorporating several rare materials to elevate its grade to a top-grade spiritual tool. It's a pity about this 7 luminaries heart lamp of mine. Lu Changsheng looked at his 7 luminaries heart lamp. He had spent a lot of time and effort to craft this 7 luminaries heart lamp. Now that he was transferring his practice to new techniques, this life-bound spiritual artifact was no longer suitable for him, and he needed to craft a new life-bound spiritual artifact. However, the 7 luminaries heart lamp couldn't keep up with his progress and cultivation level anymore. It was still a middle-grade spiritual artifact. Never mind, they'll think about the issue of magical treasures after reaching core formation. Lu Changsheng shook his head, not dwelling too much on a matter of life-bound spiritual artifacts and life-bound magic treasures. Such concerns were immensely time-consuming, draining both energy and resources, and simply couldn't be resolved in a short while. Moreover, the spirit stones sponsored by kind benefactors in his early years had been mostly spent over these years. Now, if he were asked to produce a large sum of spirit stones to forge a life-bound magic treasure, he really couldn't afford it. Not to mention that many of the materials required to refine a magical treasure could hardly be assembled with spirit stones alone. After aiding his wife to upgrade and reforge her spiritual artifact, Lu Changsheng didn't forget about his daughter Lu Ling's magic artifact. He had crafted a pair of wind-fire wheels for his daughter. Since his daughter, Lu Lingyi, definitely couldn't wield artifact to fly given her cultivation level, Lu Changsheng had refined this artifact to operate like a puppet, which could be activated by consuming spirit stones and could be wielded by her will. It could be said that these kinds of artifacts were purely ornamental and served little function. Other than him, hardly any artifact refiner would be willing to craft such things. However, it could only be said that if it made his daughter happy, it was worth it. Thank you, Daddy. Lu Lingyi looked at the pair of windfire wheels, her eyes sparkling and full of excitement, and then she wanted to try out the effect of these windfire wheels. But she was only at the first layer of qi refinement. Without even a trace of spiritual awareness, she couldn't control the windfire wheels at all. Only Lu Changsheng could help her. With Lu Changsheng lifting his hand, the windfire wheels below Lu Ling's feet began to spin slowly, emitting a bunch of golden flames, very dazzling. Then a breeze of deep azure gently rose, swirling around Lu Lingyi and lifting her into the air. Yay, 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 Daddy, I'm flying. Lu Lingyi stood on the windfire wheels, yelling happily, utterly thrilled. However, the very next day, Lu Changsheng saw his daughter Lu Wangshu at the 9th level of energy refinement, flying around joyfully on these windfire wheels. Daddy, these windfire wheels are so fun. I want one too. Can you make one for me? Lu Wangshu approached her father, coiling around Lu Changsheng's arm with an endearing and well-behaved look on her face. She mentioned that the flying speed of these windfire wheels was not enough. It was too childish. She wanted one that could fly fast and use the flames as a magic artifact. Lu Changsheng was somewhat speechless as he looked at his daughter, saying, "This was meant to be a toy for Xiaohe, not suitable to be used as a normal magic artifact. Daddy, please, pretty please, make one for me," Lu Wangshu pleaded in a coquettish tone. All right. I'll make one for you when I have some free time." Under such offensive, Lu Changsheng could only nod and agree. There was no helping it. A daughter who knew how to act charming was indeed fortunate. This daughter knew he was a pushover for a sweet approach. A little coaxing was all it took for such minor matters. "Okay, Daddy, you're busy," Lu Wangshu said obediently. "Focus on your cultivation," Lu Changsheng instructed, and left by Lake Mountain for Qingyun sect to find Xianxia and practice the sun-moon samsara technique. Every few years, he would visit Qingyun sect to see Xianxia, or Xianxia would come to by Lake Mountain. Having not gone for such a long time, he naturally wanted to pay her a visit. Arriving at the gate of Qingyun sect, Lu Changsheng thought about his previous soul path dreams and became curious about Xiaoxia's master, Kaiyun True Immortal. He wanted to see the true appearance of this esteemed person. However, considering he had visited Qingyun sect many times and never encountered this Kaiyun True Immortal, he feared that meeting her might be difficult. Lu Changsheng didn't ponder much longer, took out the yin-yang sensing talisman, and sent a message to Xiaoxia. You're tuning in to the Eternal Immortal Ballad YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.